It is a glorious sunny morning at Monza as we get ready for our free practice session in anticipation for round 2 of GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Endurance Cup. It is another monster grid, 59 cars we're looking forward to having on track. Yesterday they had testing, there was the bronze test at the end of yesterday and a very busy circuit. Not everybody of course having driven laps yesterday, the bulk of cars having been out on circuit, and with some new faces coming into the championship as well, it's going to be a very interesting day. Free practice and pre-qualifying today, qualifying early tomorrow morning, and then a 3-hour race. It's only round 2 of the Endurance Cup, but it's our first 3-hour event of the season, of course. 6 hours we had at Paul Ricard, and the next one, 24 hours, heading to the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa at the end of the month. David Addison and Joe Osborne trackside. Joe, what a track.
Yeah, the temple of speed. You can see the gantry over the start-finish line. 11 corners, just under 6 kilometres here at Monza. And another driver's favourite. And why? The history of the place is one thing, but the overtaking opportunities here at Monza are plentiful. Into turn 1, into turn 4, even into 8, and then 11, the final corner at Parabolica. So we always see great racing here. We see a lot of incidents. Last year, we saw 5 safety car periods in the 3 hours. So expect fireworks come race day tomorrow.
And with the pit lane set to go green very shortly, the drivers will head out on track. We just had a systems check for a full course yellow. Now the timing screen is showing a green flag. But actually, I don't think we are officially underway yet, although the session was due to start at 10 o'clock. We haven't had any takers, so it's going to be a couple of minutes delayed. And the timing system has now been reset, ready for the session to get underway, which it now does. No, it doesn't. The green flag comes and the green flag goes on our timing screen. We are awaiting confirmation as to the session starting in earnest. There, looking down the pit lane, one of the many Ferraris that have certainly brought lots of spectators to Monza. The Christian Hook, David Perel, Davide Rigon, Rinaldi racing car at the AF Corsa. Looks like a Ferrari showroom, their garage. There's so many cars in there. They're number 51, good to go. And we know that's a quick car because it was a Sprint Cup winner at Brands Hatch. Alessio Rivera, Alessandro Pierguidi, Vincent Abril, the 3 drivers. A Friday with testing is always really rather hard to learn very much about how the weekend is going to pan out because you don't know what people are doing in terms of fuel load or tyres or indeed which driver's behind the car and when. But Ferrari traditionally does go well around here.
Yeah, it really does. It's always been strong. It's been strong at the start of this season as well at Zandvoort, Brands Hatch and Ricard, like you said, so they've been good. And yeah, we've got a start time of 10 past 10. The fast lane should open in 1 minute and 15 seconds. So we'll see some cars heading to pit lane and actually queue at the exit. Because there are 59 cars, that is one thing they would have learnt yesterday, is how busy this track is out there. You've got less than 100 metres of space if they were all equally spaced out. And of course, being racing drivers, they don't think logically, and that never happens at all.
The point of a free practice session, yeah, okay, you want the car to work, you want drivers, if they're new to Monza, to learn, but you don't want to come back with damage. So each team will have a run plan. We're not necessarily looking at people chasing a time here.
No, I think the teams in a confident place will be looking at race runs, so they'll be starting full of fuel on a used tyre and just think how the balance of their car is and asking all 3 drivers to cycle through and go, are you happy to race this for a stint? Can you do that for a stint? And if it's a no, then they'll go back to the garage, do some setup changes and try and get the car into the window. Of course, qualifying is important, like all races, but here at Monza, it's been less important historically. We've had a lot of winners start well outside the top 10, and actually we've only had the pole sitter win twice in 13 years here. So qualifying less important, race stint more important.
Good morning from race control to all teams. Fast lane is open.
The voice you just heard is that of Niels Wittich, the race director, saying that the fast lane is open. In other words, you can't go onto the circuit, but you can go and queue at the end of the pit lane, ready to head out on track. 992 BMW from the Paradigm team. That's the James Kellett, Pedro Ibrahim, Charles Clark car. The sister car is going to be worth keeping an eye on as well, because new to GT racing comes Ash Sutton, 4 times a British touring car champion for this weekend. 81 Mercedes, Ronald Salekov, Gabriele Piana, Marvin Dienst. That's another quick car within the Bronze Cup. And the teams ready then to release the cars when required. There are some drivers making their GT World Challenge Europe debuts, so they want as much track time as possible. Other teams, such as, for example, SRO Motorsport with the new-to-it Corvette for this year, wanting as many laps as they can to bring back the data. And Daniel Ali, Mathis Lismont, we saw at Paul Ricard. And the car, in fairness, in that first Endurance Cup 6-hour race, went really well.
Yeah, really strong. Obviously, Corvette, huge history with 24-hour races. Newer in GT3 as a category, but they've transformed that GT2, GTE pace into a good GT3 car. That car was much quicker at Zandvoort, wasn't it, last time out for GT World Challenge, the sprint race. It was much closer to the front. And a car that's been at the front all season is this 40 Winwood Mercedes car. Sister car just on the left there, we saw Piana getting in. Very different liveries, but both out the same stable. Lucas Auer at the wheel at the moment has been a really strong start to the year for that crew.
Indeed so. Matteo Caroli, not a Mercedes AMG factory driver, but needing a home for this year, and he's been a very welcome addition to the ranks. There is the Max Janssen, Wilmore, Jared Waberski, BMW getting good to go for this 2-hour session. So there is a lot of track time afforded to the teams today. The mileage you get kind of crammed into 3 days so that you don't have the teams having to be here for day after day and pushing up costs. As Alessio Dono then on home soil oversees what's going on at AF Corsa and awaiting his turn to jump on board a car. Inevitably, lots of attention surrounding the Ferraris this weekend. They, as we've said, traditionally go well around here, but don't rule out Lamborghini either, because they also will show good pace around here. The AF Corsa Francorchamps Motors car. Quick reminder, as I say, that the next Endurance Cup round is the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa at the end of June. It's always a massive weekend. 76 cars are on the entry list. The prologue was busy. The race is going to be just outstanding with that size of entry, that's for sure. Tickets available if you've not been to the Spa 24 Hours. First of all, why not? Secondly, come and join this year. Another of the BMWs, which will be worth keeping an eye to, the home crew, as it were, BMW Italia Giacato Racing's car, Marcello Tomassoni, Federico Malvestiti, and Clio Cup star Felice Gelmini. Gelmini was Clio Cup Italy champion 2019, and Federico Malvestiti, the reigning Italian GT3 sprint champion in the Pro-Am class. It is Marcello Tomassoni behind the wheel. Go back 2 seasons, and he was winning in the Brazilian Porsche Championship. So we're about 90 seconds or so away from the cars being released out onto the circuit. The BMW of the Giacato Racing Squad, which has an involvement from another hero of BMW's past, Roberto Ravaglia. He's here. Other famous names connected to teams. Manuel Reuter, Le Mans winner. He's involved these days doing driver coaching and young driver work with the Haupt Racing team. The queue of cars at the end of the pit lane getting longer and longer and longer then as we get set for the commencement of this free practice session. 1 or 2 teams, though, overnight, Joe, having had a busy time changing engines.
Yeah, 2 cars. The 777, the WRT by Almanar BMW M4, new engine in that one, and a fresh donkey in the 58 Garage 59 car as well. So they attract no penalty because the race weekend officially hasn't started until we get the green flag now. But concerning for the teams to have to do an engine change. Those cars would be prepped to get through the race weekend. That isn't a protocol change as part of their prep.
That puts them on the back foot with a bit of a concern early on in the weekend. You just saw Treble 1 of Alfa Rougier. Now the team's wheels on, being released down the pit lane. It is a 3-hour race. We won't go into too much detail about this yet because it's practice, not racing. But just to make the point, fast forwarding to tomorrow, that it's not as straightforward as other 3-hour races where you can stop at the end of hour 1, stop at the end of hour 2, take the checkered flag at the end of hour 3. Because here, like last year, a third mandatory pit stop has to be undertaken, and therefore there's just a little bit more strategy in play for the teams. And certainly last year it made for a fascinating race. Right, session is underway. Cars go pouring out onto the circuit. One of the aspects that the race director has been reminding the drivers of is that white pit exit line, which is a long one, blends virtually all the way to the chicane, and you do not cross it. Treat that like a barrier. Yeah, the floor is lava, that white line. If you touch it, the race director asks you to come back into race control to see if there's any damage after touching that white lava. And yeah, it's an easy penalty to get, especially in the race. If you're trying to get over to the racing line to defend, you want to try and cross it as early as possible. Interestingly, the first car out the box was 777, so Ben Tuck checking the engine is all good as we look at another BMW, a Rover Racing 98 car. All the tyres will be fully up to temperature, so
so the drivers are straight on it here. But their outlap, they're really looking just to try and find some space. They tend to push very hard sectors 1 and 2, and then sector 3, they start to check up, trying to find that space. Jesse Krohn aboard that 98 car, clamping all over the curb. The BMW, very, very strong at how much curb it can use.
Yeah, that 98 BMW is one that we always have to keep an eye on. Jesse Krohn, who perhaps, because we've not seen that much of him really in Europe winning races, you tend to forget about, but he's very, very fast. Augusto Farfus is the quick, safe pair of hands, and Raffaele Marciello, who's won just about everything there is to win. That's your driver combination there, so that is a car that should be considered for victory, no question about it. Jesse Krohn, admittedly, has done quite a lot of his racing either in Asia or America of late, but he has raced in the German, he has raced in the European GT scene. 007 is another car that struggled a bit, did it not, at Paul Ricard, but won at Spa last year. Mattia Drudi, Marco Sorensen, Nicky Thiem, and it's Marco Sorensen with first driving duties.
Yeah, I mean, both those driver lineups are almost how you would build your dream lineup, wouldn't you? And yeah, neither were particularly strong at Ricard, so they'll be regrouping, and that's the importance of this race. You've already said it, David, quite rightly. It's the last chance before Spa to get your stick in the sand and work out where you are in the food chain. And all of these teams will be looking to get these cars dialed in as we look at the long pit straight. Cars very trimmed out here air-wise. Look at that rear wing, it's almost flat. And the other thing that's completely flat is the ride height of the car. You can obviously change the front and rear ride height independently. The more rake you put in, the higher the rear is proportionally to the front, the more aero grip you get, but that gets out. And you're seeing a race already in the Porsche Cup there between two 911s.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I mean, there's an example, fast forward to the race, about if you're having a battle and you want to make a move at the chicane, and yet there's somebody coming out of the pit lane, all of a sudden you've only got half the amount of real estate to play with.
Yeah, we're looking at Sven Muller, another Porsche. It's actually a third Porsche behind the first two. We're looking huge amount of oversteer out the first chicane. Is that the rear tyres coming up as we come into the second chicane? Braking just underneath the gantry here, probably down to third gear for the Porsche. Some cars will use second. He's actually down to second, in through the right. Don't use too much curb. And then we can see Sorensen in that ComTu, Aston Martin, still getting up, going up to temperature, maybe bedding brakes. Lesmo 1, late apex, pick the throttle up, use all the exit curb. Sorensen gets out of our way. Brake just before the 50 board, down to third, pick the throttle up, lots of curb on the inside, dust and gravel brought on by the car in front, and that's going to be a theme of the weekend. It's going to get very dirty out there at times as we plunge under the old banking, coming up to the Scari chicane, braking at the end of the barrier on the right. There's a Marshall post you use down to third, lots of curb on the left. It's now easy flat through this right because the left here has been reprofiled where the drivers can use all the curb. That curb up until 2 years ago used to be fearsome. It looked like Mount Everest. You'd hit that and it'd want to send you into space, into the last corner, chance to breathe, chance to relax. 50-meter boards are brake reference, the last board on the left. How good's the car? Third gear indicates he's not happy with the rear. When the car's in quali trim, I expect that to be fourth, because look how early we're back to fourth gear, out the last corner, back into the inside, to the shortest distance to the line, and that was nearly 6 kilometres of Monza.
With Sven Muller as your chauffeur, switching from British GT at Alton Park last week, where he got a new lap record, to Monza this week. That long pit straight, and then hard on the brakes into the chicane. Big bite of curb on the inside of the right and then the left-handed elements, and Sven Muller, Porsche specialist, then thunders on up towards now that fast right-hander, the Curva Grande, which goes on and on and on, and then you're hard on the brakes up to the next of the chicanes. In real terms, and this isn't to do down Monza because it's a fabulous place, but it's an easier circuit than some on the calendar. If you're new to the championship, actually this isn't a bad circuit to have to make your debut at. No,
although that dynamic Porsche is making it look hard, right? Huge snap of oversteer in front as Sven Muller reels it in. But yeah, you're very correct with the nature of Monza. Very high speed to low speed. The brake zones are the most important bits, and these cars now, all with ABS braking, a lot of them just want maximum brake pressure. So you smash that brake pedal as hard as you can, and you let the car systems, the ABS, take over and slow you down as efficiently as possible. As we now go on board with the McLaren of Simon Gachet here. It'll be interesting to see the differences. Same gear through Lesmo 2 as the Porsche. Obviously the turbo engine here compared to the naturally aspirated flat sit that Porsche, much lazier easier, isn't it, with its RPM as it flashes past the static camera coming into the brake zone. So the Porsche was down to third gear. I expect the McLaren to be the same through here. Quite tentative on the brakes. You can hear the car bottom out on that curb. Full throttle speed rising, rising, rising. Wasn't able to be flat through the left yet, so he's probably still looking for a bit of balance on this car as the speed keeps going and going. You get to 260 kilometers now, 3 times a lap, and we're backing out of this lap here, either to box or find some space. But I'd say he had good space in front, and I think that was the sister car actually overtaking there. So maybe he's just trying to hook up behind that car. No, sorry, that's a Garage 59. As we see one of the Mark VDS Boutsen cars still in the box of Maximilian Gutz. Be interesting to know why. I can't see any issue with it at the moment. Mechanics seem to be happy with their body language, don't they? So maybe it's just, oh no, so it's going up on double jacks now, so it's going twice the height. So they need to get underneath that car and have a look at something.
He's been out, done a systems check lap, come back in. Maxi Gutz, winner of the second British GT race at Alton Park on Monday afternoon. Matteo Cairoli then, the Italian driver on home soil, but for the American created Winwood Racing team and the German car, the Mercedes AMG. Ford Mustang comes towards us. Then 22 Porsche, which has one of the newcomers to the championship aboard it for this weekend, Larry ten Voorde. It's Heinz Guven doing driving duties at the moment. Busy GT weekend this, as you look at Maro Engel, because there's racing in America, of course, which takes 1 or 2 factory drivers out of the pool. There's also a Formula E weekend, which takes 1 or 2 drivers out of the pool. So some interesting names have cropped up on the entry list. As Matteo Cairoli then comes across the timing line, and the number 48 Mercedes accelerating past the pits down towards the chicane, and that's the first offering of a lap time for the Mercedes AMG. At the moment, it's an Audi that's the quickest. Number 66 of Alexei Nesov, 1:46.5. Lap record around here is a 44.5. Alessandro Pierguidi, although we have had in a qualifying session Jordan Pepper's Lamborghini being on that kind of pace as well, but obviously a lap record can only be done in the race. Cairoli then down towards the Variante Ascari.
Rides the curb so well, like we saw the BMW earlier, the Mercedes strong as well. We saw it very loose as we caught this car going through Ascari on the previous lap. A lot of oversteer. A lot of the cars seem to be struggling for rear grip at the moment. Track temp is high. It's already 38 degrees, so the higher the track gets, the less grip it offers, and a huge snap of oversteer there. That was not a nice one. I'd say that was a lazy slide. The car was slow to land off the curb, and it seemed to overload the rear left damper and suspension component, and it just kind of went into a very long slide. Did well to save that. Slow Lamborghini ahead is potentially going to compromise here. That's the 19 Grasse car. Is he going to get out of the way on this last straight? I think he's going to get a bit of a tow here, actually. This is good. Watch the speed rise, rise, rise. Up to 6th gear just as we go under the bridge into Parabolica. Cairoli not driving this car as much as his teammates Auer and Engel, so probably wants to get some good laps in here. And you can see that just struggling to get the car into the apex there because the rear is too active. It's too active in its rotation, and we're obviously going to go for a stint to see if that improves his tyre pressures and fuel load change, but that looks like it might need a setup change to be faster an hour.
Okay, well, he was 30th and now he's 8th, so Matteo Cairoli's lap was a 47.0. Bangs down through the gears going into the first chicane. Off the road there is 34 Aston Martin.
Pittard, isn't it?
David Pittard at the wheel, yeah, and through the gravel, bouncing his way back on track. We understand Maxi Gutz's Boutsen VDS car has a sensor issue, so that's why that has ended up back into the box. David Pittard, no doubt, will bring the Aston in just to make sure that all is well. Whether he was off the road because he made a mistake or in avoidance of somebody who was making a mistake, time will tell. Fabian Schiller for Mercedes AMG has gone up to 2nd fastest at an absolute best within Sector 1. Busy racetrack down at the first of the chicanes, which has number 30 BMW, the WRT entry, which is Etienne Chely, Gilles Stadsbader and Gustav Bergstrom's car. That's had quite a lot of bad luck, it feels, this year, but Gustav Bergstrom is at the wheel. Remember, it had to start one of the Brands Hatch races from the pits because it had an electrical gremlin. It was in the wars a bit at Zandvoort as well. We've had those 2 Sprint Cup events effectively back-to-back. And right now, mileage is what they're after. Etienne Chely stepping up from GT4 to GT3 this year. A couple of team managers, one from Santalok, the other from Powell Motorsport, all being summoned to see the race control team immediately, so that is for an infringement before the session effectively got underway, whether it's for releasing the cars too soon or in an unsafe way. The stewards will have a look at the evidence that is presented to them. So Gustav Bergström here up towards the Ascari chicane. You can see he's got one of the Trezzo Tempto Audis tucked up behind, and Bergström is going to find himself in a busy bit of circuit right now because there is traffic up the road as well. 98, in fact, it is. Jesse Krohn BMW just ahead, coming down towards what we still call the Curva Parabolica, but it has been renamed after the late Michele Alboreto, but the historians are still calling it the Parabolica. It's part of the fabric of the Monza circuit, with all due respect to Michele Alboreto. Right, Bergström up towards the line. He stays out, Jesse Krohn comes in, so now Bergström gets a free ride, doesn't he? Clear road ahead.
Yeah, perfect. What he would have wanted. Maybe a tow from the 98 car just as they exited Parabolic. You can see the two cars in front starting to get in hard on the brakes here, all the way down to second gear. Lots of curb on the inside. The reason you use the curb on the inside there is just to try and take out some of the angle, but likewise, as you hit it, actually helps rotate the car as the inside wheels are in the air. You kind of get this pivot feeling, and it really helps take out some of the angle. Easy flat through Curva Grandes. We watch the Schumacher CLRT, Porsche, then the Dynamic, then the COM2 car. Every camera we look at is busy, and that gives you the illustration of what we're going to expect for 3 hours of racing with 59 cars. And at the moment, this is free practice, so this is the nicest the drivers will be. They might just roll out the throttle like that COM2 Aston does there to let the Mercedes through. But in the race, when you're fully pinned, that's where we see so much action.
Fastest speed of anybody at the moment, Fabian Schiller, who you're looking at here, number 17. He comes up towards the line. The Ukrainian Ivan Klimenko, who was a real hero at Zandvoort in the second Sprint Cup race in Holland. He is the second bravest on 277 kilometres an hour as a top speed, matched by Guillermo Oliveira. And then Alexei Nesov is not that far behind. Number 60, we understand, has been up the escape road, and that is Alessandro Frassinetti's Lamborghini. Fabian Schiller now is the fastest. He's done a 1:45.9. Let's just listen in for a moment.
It's just low pressure makes the car drive a little bit tricky, but also I haven't done a proper lap yet. Okay, you can back off, try the next one, or pass this guy, and then box by the end of the next lap for the first adjustment, please.
So we're talking about pressures, I believe. So tyre pressures, it says they are lower pressure, a bit tricky, but the front end was better. And he's just done the fastest sector of anyone in Sector 1. So he's obviously going well. And Monza is one of those tracks that correlates directly. Top speed is important here. And so we've seen him fastest in the speed trap and his fastest lap time. Overall, 2 purple sectors now. This Lamborghini is going to start to be compromising. He'll start to lose some front aero grip through the Ascari chicane. He's tucked up, but he will now get a big slipstream. He will be flashing his headlights crazy. Yes, it's only practice. The Lamborghini also flashing its headlight crazy. It's Simon Gachet in the CSA McLaren. Schiller's going to try and send him, but he decides he can't. Still going to be a quick lap, but he's lost time. I don't think he's going to improve his lap time because of Sector 3.
And the team was saying box if you get past that car ahead. Well, he hasn't got past, so the decision is taken. Bring him in, get him out of that traffic, and they can do whatever the adjustment is they need to. Whether they send Fabian Schiller out in order to make sure that that adjustment has worked, we will see. Interesting, though, that they bailed on that lap because he'd done 2 purple sectors, 2 absolute best. So notionally, he would have been on for the best time, or an even better time. But the team not chasing a lap time just yet. They want that car absolutely perfect, don't they? Ready for the rest of the weekend. Qualifying tomorrow at about this time of day. It starts at 9:45, whereas this session started just after 10 o'clock. So it's a comparable time of the day. As you look at Finn Wiebelhaus, who does the Endurance Cup events in the HRT Ford Performance car. The HRT, nothing to do with Holden Racing Team, Haupt Racing Team. And 65, then Finn Wiebelhaus, who we know is a rapid driver, currently chasing after the Herbert Motorsport Porsche, with still 1 hour and 3/4 of this free practice period to go. So there is a big chunk of track time, really useful for the teams here.
Yeah, just go back to that Schiller thing. The coolest thing you can do in motorsport is 3 purple sectors to get the fastest lap. The second coolest is actually go purple, then box. You kind of like feels like you're putting your collar up on your shirt and just strutting around going, I could have done it if I wanted. But yeah, I think they'll keep Schiller in for that change by the sounds of what the engineer wanted, and they're just working through their program. But at the moment, nearly 3/10 clear. They're looking pretty strong, aren't they? And the Ford here jinking around, just trying to maybe catch the attention of the Herbert Porsche in front of him as we go to the sister car of Matthew Drouet there, 19th at the moment in the 64 Mustang. Great liveries on both. Nice that they run in mirror as well. It's a bit easier to tell them apart than some of the other sister cars out there. Drouet into the last corner. How's his lap looking at the moment as we look at the timing screen? It's a green sector 2, so could be an improvement to lift himself higher than his current 19th position.
That Mustang making a great noise, of course, as it howls past the pits, and Thomas Drouet, you're looking at, comes over the line. Monza, yet another of the circuits where you start and finish lines are in slightly different places, and then heavy braking down to that first chicane. Great shot of that looking down from the drone as the car now flicks the power back on out of the chicane up towards the Curva Grande. Speed building all the time, heading up towards the Rogier chicane, and Thomas Drouet, who is another of those quick, if slightly underrated drivers, French GT Pro-Am champion going back to 2021, but experienced in both GT4 and GT3 machinery, comes out of the chicane, and bit by bit, these Mustangs are getting there, aren't they? Haupt making that decision to move to Ford for this year. Clearly Hubert Haupt and the team see the potential in that car. You wouldn't give up on a Mercedes-AMG pedigree if you didn't think this was worth doing.
No, probably the most proven car as well, the Mercedes, to go to a new project, but we saw how strong Ford were when they returned to Le Mans with the Ford GT, so they're obviously expecting the same thing with this Mustang. Yes, it's a big car, but it's surprisingly light. It's nowhere near one of the heaviest cars out there, so Ford Performance doing a good job at taking a load of weight out, and again, it's a car that rides the curb well, as we see a very busy part of the racetrack coming into the final corner. Drouet at the moment will be wanting to finish this lap. He's up to 14th now. He hasn't improved on this lap, but sometimes you can just get it there. It's like wobble under braking, maybe brake bias a bit too rearward, or just maybe touching the white line there. Quite a common mistake as the track narrows under braking.
A rather slow Grata Lamborghini heading into the pit lane as well, but Thomas Drouet then comes up towards the timing line. He was 15th and goes through, improves again. So Thomas Drouet now up into 13th in the times, a 1:46.7. So the Mustang is getting there. And it's great to have Ford's renewed enthusiasm for GT racing. 65, the sister car into the pit lane. Finn Wiebelhaus brought it in, so there's going to be a driver change. Wiebelhaus, David Schumacher and Romain Andriolo, the drivers for the weekend.
Schumacher getting aboard. You can see his seat insert there, so all three drivers, if they are different heights, different shapes, then they will run an insert, so they're always comfortable in the car as well. All the seats are fixed now as we go aboard this 99 Audi,
which is now the fastest car. That's why we're looking at Alex Arca, who just did a 1:45.7, so about a second away from race lap record pace at the moment, but could be that he's on carryover tyres rather than new boots. But I know we say it every weekend, but it just underlines that this Audi is still a competitive car. Such a shame that Audi has decided, for now at least, not to pursue a GT program with the enthusiasm it once did.
Yeah, the most common GT3 car out there, over 500 examples sold since their inception. Had a one-make series in China. Right. The car was so popular. I actually raced the original R8, so this is an Evo 2 of the second generation. So 5 cars ago, it had electric glass windows. The pit lane speed limiter was the cruise control stalk that you just pushed away. That is how far GT3 has moved on, and so quickly. That was 2011 in FIA GT3 with United Autosports, and yeah, 5 generations of Audi later, we are now on this Evo 2, which, as you said, is still so competitive at every single track we go to. It's just a brilliant car, as he has a huge snap of oversteer, as I just picked it up.
2011, yes. You forget how far back you go with GT3. I remember watching you in that United Autosports Audi, peering out of my pram, watching. Up towards the line comes Alex Arca then. Fastest last time through. He's done a personal best and not so good in sectors 2 and 3, so he is still the fastest. But that was a slightly slower lap, and he's just about to clear the traffic. Let's just head to the pit lane, because Louis Pret's McLaren, that had an engine change, has spent a lot of this morning still in the pit lane. Alex Le Guy is with Louis Pret.
I'm now down in garage 59 with the driver of car 58, Louis Brett, who's a little frustrated looking on from the sidelines after an engine change last night. What's going on?
I mean, we're trying to figure out what's wrong since we boxed out yesterday. We just didn't have any performance in the car. So I know the team is working very hard to find a solution. Yesterday we went through an engine change. So we just need to see how it goes today and try and figure out what's the actual problem.
It sounds like you've had problems off and on since Brands Hatch.
Yeah, but after, as it's short tracks, engine didn't matter too much, so it was always small differences. But now that you're in Monza, I mean, it does make a big difference when you're low on top speed. So yeah, no clue what it is, but I know the team is working hard anyways to find a solution. Thank you.
Yeah, the Garage 59 team had really, really good pace, but rotten luck at Paul Ricard. Gradually, you know, one car had a problem, then another, then another. The race all unravelled, but the potential is there.
Yeah, car 41st, that's where we expect Adam Smalley to be. Interesting, he's got Schiller behind. I think unfortunately he's going to box because the unfortunate reason for that is that is the fastest car in the speed traps, and this is one of the slower ones. I'm just looking at the speed traps, and it is 5 to 6 kilometres an hour down on the next slowest McLaren. So that'll be a real head scratcher for the team. They obviously would have seen that problem yesterday and gone, right, it's the engine, let's change the engine. They've changed the engine and it's still the problem. Yeah. And unfortunately, I've had exactly that problem in a McLaren at Monza where we just had no pace in a straight line whatsoever. And we were changing everything by the end of it. We had thrown every single component we could think of. We were changing windscreens, everything by the end. And we just gave up in the end. So I hope they can find the problem there. But these cars are so complex. You go, well, if it's not the engine, it'll be the turbos. It's not the turbos. Well, it must be some friction in the drive chain, change the gearbox, the diff, still nothing. So, yeah, I do generally worry for them. And Louis Prep looked pretty downbeat as well. Yeah. So I hope for them, as you said, wow, huge number of votes there.
Yeah.
And that's what you do as a driver. As soon as you get a problem, you're distracted. You're thinking about, right, I need to get a good exit here to try and make up for that inadequacy of straight line speed. And you just drop a wheel, and Adam did well to catch that. But that was a mistake he wouldn't make normally, I don't think, in a well-handling, well-powered car.
Another one that we might need to worry about is 63 Lamborghini of Luca Engschler, because that is the slowest of those that's done a time. That's the Engschler, Jordan Pepper, Mirko Bortolotti car. Its best lap is a 2:27. Now, that car has been in the pits a couple of times and still on track looks slow, doesn't it? Getting out of everybody's way. But unless there's a master plan here of why they're doing lots of slow laps, it would suggest that car's got a problem.
Yeah, 9 seconds plus off the pace. Sorry, even more, sorry, that's Moulin who's also got a slight issue. Yeah. So just looking at the bottom three as Smalley pits again, and yeah, he was overtaking Ensler there down into Parabolica. So yeah, 59 cars is always going to be a problem as Garage 59 pit that 58 to garage number 35.
But both of those slow Grasser Lamborghinis are staying out. So you think, if they've got a problem, why aren't they in the pits? What's to be gained by driving around, unless it's to get data for what you might be doing under a safety car speed or a full course yellow speed? But it's a bit risky doing that when everybody else is flat out.
Yeah, I would guess it would be brake bedding, but they've done too many laps now where, unless they're running a pretty exotic brake pad material that needs a lengthy bedding in process, they're at a strange point right now. Could be fresh engines that they want to bed in, but normally everything's now dynoed before it comes to the track, so you can just go flat out from the get-go, essentially. And yeah, we're looking at a Lamborghini that's a bit quicker here. Frank Pereira, third place at the moment. Got a chance to improve. Green sector 1.5 tenths down at the moment. This could be close enough to get into second above Schiller if sector 3 was good, and it is. Lifts him up to second place, just over 1 tenth behind Akers Audi.
One of the other things that the teams are doing in this session is making sure that their fuel connection sensor is working, because that is how you measure the regulation refueling time, which is a minimum of 44 seconds. Now, if you're not sending the data, then race control want you to be connected for over 70 seconds. So in other words, you've got to get it working, otherwise you're hemorrhaging time in the pits on those regulation pit stops. So a lot of the teams are doing it this morning, saying we've done our test, make sure it works at your end.
Yeah, exactly, and the fuel rig is pretty complex now, so as soon as it goes on, the sensor clicks, and then the fuel man will have that counter in front of him counting down, and that's how you make your pit stop as quick as possible, is getting it as close to that 44 seconds, but not under. That's always the hard bit there. As we watch Frank Pereira, the balance of that car looking really nice at the moment. David Pittard we saw go through the gravel trap earlier in between T9 and 10 at Ascari. Looks pretty sweaty as well, so I think he's been working hard. And I've not driven that Aston in race trim. I've tested it, and it's the AC system in it is insane. You actually can't run it on maximum because it's too cold. And here's that, sorry, I thought we were looking at the Lambo. Here's a CSA McLaren going through the gravel trap there, the 112 car, all the way down, and that's Robin, isn't it, just going through. But the problem is that then drags all that gravel, grass. Look at the slow-mo. It's an expensive lawnmower right now.
Yes, absolutely. But was that his mistake, or was he slightly put off by going past that very slow Lamborghini as he launches himself back towards the tarmac? And everybody at CSA Racing goes, no, don't want to look at that, cringe, because they see what load's gone through the car. This is how it is from traffic behind. He just seems to miss his braking point and go straight on. But again, oh, hello.
I think it's a change of grip with all the gravel that's being drawn on there. Is that the BMW there, one of the Paradigm cars?
It's 992, isn't it?
Yeah, and as we see the 9 car now back out the box, so they've changed that sensor, and they'll now be checking to make sure everything is A-OK on that one. Interesting to see what sensor it is. A lot of the time that you can get through with a sensor problem, so I'd imagine it's probably like a gear position sensor, which when that fails you can't change gear, so it's more of an issue than say a temperature sensor, which you just ignore, as we see Maxi Götz getting aboard the Mercedes.
Track limit warnings are coming thick and fast now as people get dialed into the session. Still waiting to see what unravels at Grasso with these troubled 19 and 63 Lamborghinis. Number 51 Ferrari ready to go. It's not been a great morning thus far for Ferrari. 51, for example, is only 31st. So that car, Alessio Rivera brought in, and ought to be able to go back out again and see what can be done in terms of a time. The Corvette, however, still pounds round, bringing back data. First time that the team has run the car here. It's Daniel Ali at the wheel of it, who we last saw in the Asian Le Mans series, came to Sprint Cup for a couple of events, but Daniel Ali in the times currently is 48. Remember, this is one that runs in the Silver Cup, goes underneath the bridge that doubles up as the banking. I defy you to watch or come to Monza and then not go and watch the John Frankenheimer Grand Prix movie that had its big showdown at Monza.
I also implore you, if you ever come to Monza, to try and go up the old bank.
Yes.
It's one of the most fun and scary activities. It's one of the, you know, when the cat gets stuck in a tree and you're like, well, you got up there, just come down.
Yes.
I can actually empathise now with that cat, because you get up there and you're like, well, that was hard. And then you realise how high you are, and you go, I've got to get down and not go face first. And it's always a pleasure experience. And one of the largest parks in Europe as well, Park Monza, 688 hectares. So it's a lovely place to come for the weekend.
Oh, it's a brilliant place. And everywhere you look, there are echoes of the heritage of Monza, not just in terms of sports car racing, but Formula One and touring car racing. As the Corvette then, Daniel Ali at the wheel, goes into that first chicane. And yes, over the years, Monza's had to adapt a little bit with greater runoff areas and the old modification to the corners and the chicanes and so forth. But largely, it remains as ever it did. You look at Matteo Cairoli getting a lot of laps in the first part of the day. There is Alexei Nesov, who was quickest early on. He's now been elbowed back down to 10th in the times in that Tresor Attempto Racing Audi. That means at the moment he's the fastest of those in bronze. And the other question mark at the minute is going to be when we get a proper lap time out of Maxi Götz. Luca Engschler, by the way, has now brought the troubled 63 into the pit lane, so one hopes that Grass are now going to be able to take a step forward.
Yeah,
big whack curve there. Sorry, Joe.
Sorry, his in-lap was slow as well, though. He did a green sector too, but still 5 seconds off in that sector alone. And yes, this Tresor Attempto team seem to be on it, don't they? Very quick at the moment. Fastest in their class with the 66, fastest overall, and then obviously fastest in silver as well. The silver class is our most popular class. That's the first time that's ever happened. 17 cars in that, so a great strength of class. And we've got 16 cars in the pro and the gold as well. So we've got a lot of strong classes, and that's not discounting the bronze, which still has 10 cars. So we've got 4 races within a race. And qualifying, that kind of gets thrown out the window, doesn't it? We've seen quite a few times already this season, not a pro car on pole because you have very fast drivers across all 4 classes.
Yeah, one of the class changes has been for Nordic Racing's Mercedes. They actually went off the road yesterday, did a bit of damage, but Tim Santler replaces Yuichi Nakayama. Therefore, that car goes into gold, which puts the Gold Cup at 10, which is its biggest grid. So that's going to be a competitive fight, that's for sure. And as I was saying early on, we've got a couple of new drivers into a number of cars. We've also got a 2-driver entry with Maurice Schuring going from Rutronic to Schumacher CLRT. That means that Antares Al and Luc Hertog are going to run as a pair. So for qualifying purposes, Hertog is shown as being on the entry list twice, effectively, and he will run 2 segments and 2 parts of the race as well. But very unusual these days in a 3-hour race that we get just the 2 drivers. And a busy month, isn't it, for lots of GT drivers, because you've got this, then in a couple of weeks' time there's a 24-hour race somewhere in France. The week after that there's a 24-hour race in the Nürburgring, which counts towards the Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli. And then the week after that there's the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. So it is a very, very busy month for manufacturer-paid GT drivers.
Yeah, and a 24-hour race hits differently. I can only liken it to a stag do. You've been away for 3 days and you finally get home. Everything seems quiet, but you're quite vacant. You're not in your own body and you're just wandering around with this aura. And that's how you feel like after a 24-hour race. Slightly different physical reasons why you feel different, but it's a similar feeling nonetheless. So to do 3 stag do's, 3 24-hour races, back to back is pretty hardcore.
Absolutely right. In whatever capacity, whether you're working at them or driving in them or marshalling or being a race director. 81 from Winwood is into the pit lane. That was the car that Gabriele Piana had on track early on. It's another of those quick Bronze Cup entries. And Marvin Dienst, former German F4 champion, behind the wheel currently. The car drops down. Winwood Racing ready to send that back out with Renat Salikov as another of the quick drivers aboard that car.
Yeah, the car, so the 9 car's not happy. It did that out in lap. I actually thought Maxi Gotz's body language looked quite negative as he got back in that car. So maybe he just thought they weren't on top of the issue. And you can see he's got out the car, so he would have been told that's not a quick fix. The team will always tell the driver, stay in, we know what it is. But if they're not, they're out the car. And it's amazing how much that'll put you on the back foot of a race weekend there, that you are potentially going to lose 2 hours of your practice to get that car dialed in. And yeah, that's going to hurt them, I think, for a lot of this weekend. As we see the 92 car there, Herbert Motorsport coming across the line. Tine Heinemann at the moment 5th in the gold class. The Porsche looking good. Nice livery as well on that. I like the dark nature of the Porsche, very sleek. We were talking about them earlier, how strong they are and everything they race. This Porsche is really, really good, and it's so trick. I love watching these cars in the garage when you take a wander around. That splitter, so the lowest part of the bumper that cuts through the air, that's fully adjustable, so they can actually take the front bumper off and change some of the lengths of the rods to change the angle of attack. So we're talking like aircraft now, to change the whole air profile of the front of this car. Again, talking about GT racing, GT3 is just moving on at an alarming rate, and these cars just so quick now.
Heading up towards the Lesmo Benz then is Tim Heinemann, currently the fastest in goal. Leonardo Moncini's Audi, which is 4th overall. So you've got the Tresor Attempto cars fastest in silver and gold. 991 driver change going on. Sean Galisle brought the car in. Now that is the car that Darren Lung and Ash Sutton are sharing. Now, Sean Galisle, I think it was, I saw walking away. Let's see who they've installed behind the wheel of it. Ash Sutton has never raced at Monza. He's only ever been round it in the passenger seat of a car. Oh, and he's never raced a GT3 car before either. So it really is a step into the unknown a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. It was Ash Sutton behind the wheel. So Ash Sutton has accelerated now down the pit road and gets his first laps of the day. Now, this is a rather slow Porsche all of a sudden. Tim Heinemann I think was buying himself clear track space there, because as he turns into the corner, he boots it and the pace starts to quicken.
Yeah, proper quali mentality there. He turned in late, opened up the corner. The later the apex, the higher the exit speed. As we see adjustment going on this Windward car. Caroni still in the car. I said at the start of the session I thought he'd get some more laps because he is the third driver, so during the sprint weekends it's the other two of Auer and Engel, so they're just trying to get him up to speed. They're just checking temperatures as we see Ash Sutton on his outlap. Welcome to real racing, Ash Sutton.
He did the Spa prologue, which flew under the radar a bit. He did the DTM test in GT3 machinery, of course, but with the DTM BOP at Zandvoort the Monday after World Challenge Europe had been there, and the current British Touring Car Championship leader, double race winner this year, 4 times a British Touring Car champion. This is a very, very different sort of race car altogether, but Ash in his normal way is up for the challenge, and when asked about this last weekend, is this a career move, he suggested it was more future planning. He'd like to get a feel for GT racing and see where that, in the fullness of time, might lead, but there's no immediate plan to defect from a paddock in which he is top dog, effectively, in the British Touring Car Series.
Yeah, why would you come and want to race a 550 horsepower GT car versus a Ford Focus? So, yeah, it'd be a hard decision for him to make, but annoyingly, Ash is one of those drivers that's very, very nice. I get on with him very well, but very quick. When we used to work together a lot at McLaren, we'd have to go out and just set a reference lap in the morning. Cold, you wouldn't get any practice, got to go straight into it. And I was working for McLaren, so it was slightly easier for me because I was in the car a lot. But Ash, no GT experience, would go and set his reference lap and be right on the money. So I expect good things from him this weekend.
Absolutely right. And Darren Lung, who has never raced with, worked with Ash before, but was certainly aware of him through being in the Toka paddock for a few seasons, got in touch mid-May, said by text message, effectively, ever thought of driving a GT3 car? And Ash said, yeah, why not? I'll go and give it a go. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he gets on this weekend. First flying lap then of today for Ash Sutton. Napa Racing UK is the team for whom he races, the Alliance Racing team in the British Touring Car Championship. And he's the only double winner of the season. So Sutton's BMW, take some say. We've seen him in Fords and Subarus and MGs in the BTCC, Clio Cup champion. And now a GT driver comes into the Lesmo Benz.
There'll be a huge amount of adjustment for him. The huge one there, big snap of oversteer again out of Lesmo 2, is where the power is getting delivered through. Obviously, he's commonly used to front-wheel drive. The Subaru, I know, was rear-wheel drive in touring cars, but that suddenly changes everything you do as a driver. When he gets oversteer in a front-wheel drive car, you just nail the throttle and it pulls you straight, and that's the best thing you can do. If it ever happens to you on the road, is the worst thing to do is lift. All the weight goes to the front and you spin. Whereas in a rear-wheel drive car, if you keep your foot buried, it's going to loop the car around. So that's second nature. It's going to be hard for him to change his mindset on that.
No, we've been very worried this morning about number 9, the Buxton VDS Mercedes AMG. It's back in the pits, and Maxime Martin can explain to Alex what gives.
I'm now down here with Maxime Martin of Car 9, who have yet to put many laps down. What's going on?
Yeah, we have a sensor issue on the rear right. So we cannot really run like this because we are losing ABS, DC, so we don't have anything. So it's a bit of a shame, so now we need to replace some parts. Hopefully we had some running yesterday, so at least we for sure we missed now some running, but at least we had some running yesterday. So yeah, we need to fix it and try again, because at the moment it's still not working. Any
estimation of time? Are you likely to get out for this session?
Yeah, I think it's going to take around 30 minutes to work on it, so we'll see.
To what extent does that cause a problem here at Monza for you guys? I know that you're very experienced, but I'm guessing you need track time, you boys.
Yeah, I mean, every track time is important for the team, for our drivers. Like I say, hopefully we had some running yesterday, which is always good. But yeah, all the time we're not running, it's never good. So we hope we can go out again and try to optimize our package for tomorrow.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, Maxime.
But he puts a brave face on it. Yes, he is experienced. The team is experienced. And you could argue the one consolation is better it happens now than lap 1 of the race.
Yeah, totally. Wheel speed sensor as well, like you said, knocks out the TC and ABS. And it's quite a big change because it's inbuilt into the hub of the car. So it isn't just a sensor out in. It's almost a whole corner change on that. As we watch the fueling, his visor should be down. I'm not doubling him in, but I am. That would actually attract a penalty in the race. And he'll be watching his count up to 44, or some of them actually prefer counting down to 0 from 44. So, yep, as we go on board, I like the rear view camera on that. It's a rear view mirror, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it is a camera in a lower position, getting down to 50 kilometers an hour. Now back on the throttle, and you can see in first gear he'll be looking for his pit box. We're quite late on in the pit lane here, so it's hard to spot 59 garages, as we see from the drone. His Lollipop Man now waving in, coming in, just stopping by that white element of the pit gantry. Driver change here. Has this car got an issue? We are worried about it. Still in 58th place. Its best lap is 30 seconds off the pace, and they've been only in the pit lane for 1:10, but they've been in the pit 4 times. So yeah, they've got to now skate the car to 45 degrees out, as we see Engstler walking away. I'm just going to see if he walks up to his engineer. There's no one really worrying him to try and get some information out. So I would still say it looks all to plan, but I can't, for the life of me, work out what the plan is as the sister car comes out, who is only in 55th place, 2 seconds off the pace.
So we know there's more to come from those Grasser Racing Team Lamborghinis. They are both, as you can see, back on the pit apron. We've still got an hour and 20 minutes just under of this session to go. There is 32, the WRT BMW, the car that, of course, did win at Paul Ricard in that opening 3-hour race of the season, partly, as ever, with tremendous pit strategy. Ugo de Wilde is behind the wheel of that car right now. The Liège-based Team WRT. The team manager of the ComTU, Jamie Day, Kobe Powell's Nicola Bar Aston is being summoned to see the race director. 42 BMW there, which is Jared Oberski, Will Moore and Max Janssen. That car heading up towards the timing line now as well. And Jared Oberski, behind the wheel of it, currently 5th in the times. Now, I know this is only free practice and there are lots of people out of position, but it's encouraging given the pace of that car. Got some narrow margins as well. If you go down to 16th and 17th, it's 1,000th of a second that split them. Jules Gounon just got up to second fastest, ahead of Franck Pereira, 1:45.8 for Gounon and a 1:45.85, so 200 splitting Gounon on Pereira. Super slow-mo of the 91 Herbert Porsche. That's the Ralph Bowen, Alfred Renauer, Robert Renauer car going through the Variante Ascari. These super slow-mo shots are fantastic, aren't they? Just illustrating what not only is the driver doing, but what the car is going through. Yeah,
you could see that rotation I was talking about earlier. As he hit that apex at turn 1, it rotated the whole car for him, and it meant that the second part, turn 2, was easier. There was less angle to get through there, so that was a mega slow-mo, and I love the illustration of that as we look at Jules Gounon now up to second place. Like you said, less than a tenth off the fastest. Traffic ahead, however. Will he be able to navigate that? Will they hold him up? There'll be all information and questions he'll be asking himself and the team, but it's busy there. He's got a bit of a gap behind him, so if he gets compromised in sector 3, which he's about to cross into now, he may decide to back up. There's a Ferrari about 5 seconds behind him. This is all words the engineer will be telling him, so he's pre-armed with that rather than having to work out at a later date. The good engineers that we hear are always sounding calm, always giving the driver's information. That Porsche hasn't got an electrical issue. That is the driver spamming the headlight flash button, trying to get past that Kessel Ferrari.
Jules Gounon then catching traffic, and as a legacy of that, the team may well advised to head for the pit lane, get out of that queue of cars. Jules Gounon accelerates out of the Parabolica. Does he make the call to come in? Nope, stays out, so he's going to pick his way through the traffic, all of which is useful for the race, knowing where you can get past a given brand of car.
Yeah, and he goes fastest. So, interestingly, no green sectors on his lap, but it was just a very efficient lap as he gets held up by the Porsche. That was 2/10 quicker than his previous lap, so that car looking very strong. Bit of gravel being kicked up by the Porsche in front. Probably all that gravel getting kicked up, it starts to go through the radiator and starts to affect the cooling, as we see a big snap of oversteer there for the 21 car right in the middle of the Ascari chicane. Seems to be the hot spot for driver issue, doesn't it?
Yes,
Ascari at the moment.
And Nicolas Bart behind the wheel, so we've had the team manager of that car summoned to the race director. So Jules Gounon, then, just to go back to that previous lap, didn't improve in any of the sectors, but it was such a good, consistent lap. There were no peaks and troughs to it. It was just quick across and added all together, and it was the best lap of the session. So Jules Gounon, a 1:45.6, his month involves not only lots of 24-hour races, but one in a hypercar and then into GT machinery. So he's got to adapt to different types of car as well as different events.
Worryingly for the other 58 cars that aren't that 17 Get Speed car, if you've done the fastest lap without doing a green sector, your theoretical lap is going to be monster fast.
Yeah, indeed.
So if you put all your best sectors together, he's going to be miles ahead. So that's an interesting takeaway from that. Let's remember, as we see the 333 Pool Motorsport car trying to get out, but it's just got beached. Interesting to see why he went left and right. Did he have damage? He was trying to get behind the barrier.
Yeah, he was looking for that access road, I think, wasn't he, and get out of the way, but he's ended up being beached in the gravel. Marzio Moretti. This is Jules Gounon heading into the pit lane then now. Gounon pits, having gone quickest. Let's just listen in.
Go for a quick okay, Jules, how is the feeling coming off the curbs? Especially exit turn 4 and 7, by the way, P1 by 1/10.
It's as good as yesterday. It feels more harsh and more less control on the landing especially. So that's as good as yesterday, but everywhere else the car is better.
Interesting, some kind of damping change, I'd assume. They're talking about 4 and 7, so that's going to be the apex curbs there. We've got the yellow flag out. He's potentially close enough, isn't it, where they could cover it with local yellows if they've got a recovery vehicle behind that barrier on the left. Can't see any major damage just looking at the side we've got there, and so you've got, I'd see his wheel marks in the gravel trap, see how he's got to that position.
Yeah, almost as though there was a sudden panic. Oh, he'd been off the road at the previous corner and got some damage, has he? Because he's slow. Broken suspension, car doesn't want to turn maybe, it looks low at the back, punctured tyre. So punctured tyre, he realises he's not going to make that corner, and then sees the access road and perhaps tries to swing across it. Red flag is shown to interrupt the session. Replay of the Aston Martin, that is Nicolas Bart again. I think we'd seen him coming off the grass there, but the ComTU Aston trying to camouflage itself on the foliage. Right, red flag, and because it's free practice, the clock carries on ticking. Just look at the tarmac there and all the stones, all the bits of gravel that have been dragged onto the circuit. Very messy indeed. And of course, it's a vicious circle, isn't it? Because somebody goes off, brings gravel onto the road, catches you out, somebody goes off, brings more gravel onto the road, and on and on and on and on it goes.
But I prefer it this way than lots of tarmac runoff. At least there is a penalty. Every car that's running wide is losing grip, losing time. So track limits naturally more self-policing here at Monza than some other circuits we visit.
51 Ferrari was 30-something. It's up to 15th, but the team not happy. And you can tell when they're not happy because they won't tell you why they're not happy. They are being rather taciturn in their answers, we understand. The fans then look on at now quiet circuit for a few minutes. So treble 3, Marzio Moretti into the gravel and that punctured tyre. Now whether the puncture came by running over the curb or running over something on the racetrack, time will tell. But everybody now has to make their way down to the pit lane, and if a team was working on a plan, then that plan goes out of the window now because the data stops while they have to go through this interruption. But Monza, because of those little access points and the nature of the circuit, it's not one that we've had huge numbers of safety cars over the years. Yes, we have had the safety car used, but not to the same extent that other venues have, for example.
Yeah, it's very easy to recover a car here. The team will want that car recovered to pit lane, though, because if it is just a simple puncture, they can obviously change the tyre and carry on their session, whereas if it gets recovered to that access point is at, that's on the outside of the circuit, they're not going to get that car back until the end of the session. So all the other drivers, it's amazing how luck works, doesn't it? That red flag timing, if that was 5 minutes earlier, we wouldn't see Jules Gounon P1. He wouldn't have had a read on that change the engineer was asking him about, but he was in pit lane as it went red. It couldn't have been better for that car, and sometimes you get that feeling as a race weekend goes, it's all going for you, or more commonly it feels it's all going against you. There's never a balance as all these cars pit now. There will be 58 cars returning to pit lane at the moment, all skating round to 45 degrees nose out. Teams will make the decision to leave the tyres on or take them off the car, put them back in the oven. With the ambient being so high, already at 25, they'll kind of be thinking if it's less than 5 or 6 minutes, we'll keep them on the car and the brakes will keep them plenty warm enough. If it's much longer, they won't want to heat cycle the car and the tyre. The tyre then goes hard again because it goes cold and then it has to go hot again, and you just start to lose grip. The more you heat cycle, the worse it gets. As we look at our fastest car from Get Speed, Jules Gounon aboard, the mechanic trying to get him some air through the driver's door there.
Treble 3 is going to be brought back to the pit entry, we understand. I'm still worried about this Jordan Pepper Lamborghini, which had at least started to look a bit more with it in sectors, but still 6/10 down. But bit by bit, looks like 63 is getting nearer to the pace. Of course, all this takes quite a long while because you need everybody into the circuit, into the pit lane before you can let marshals go trackside to recover cars. What is also happening over at the Variante Ascari, if you look in the background, is that one of the road sweepers has arrived to try and clear up all of that because there's barely any racing line now.
Yeah, you can see how much is being put there, and only the racing line is clear. Marshall's doing a good job with the old school broom, but yeah, they're going to need that sweeper there, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say how much aggregate is there. That's got to be 15, 20 kilos of gravel that's just been dragged on within 50 minutes of a free practice session. Looks like they're going to get it on a flatbed, which will take it all the way back to pit lane. But always worrying as a driver, seeing, oh, that's a fancy one.
No, that's better. That's a bit keener.
I need one of those. I don't need one, but I need it in my garage.
Yes.
I have no idea. I could maybe brush my hair a bit faster in the morning. But yeah, great Milwaukee tour. I'm getting on eBay later for that.
That'll make a really serious bit of kit for a game of Quidditch, wouldn't it, if you could ride one of those. Puts the humble broomsticks into the shade. Right, that car is now out of one bit of gravel, but in another.
I think they're just putting it there to then use the crane off the lorry to pick it up. I thought they might just dump it straight on the back, but maybe the telehandler's not happy he can get on top. Can't see any more damage than simply the tyre off the rim is the only thing.
So it was Marzio Moretti that was behind the wheel. So they've brought it from where it had been parked closer now to, as you say, the flatbed. It'll be lifted up. Marzio Moretti eager to get to the team. So it is Jules Gounon in the meantime who is the fastest. He's a 1/10 of a second quicker than anybody else. Let's just hear Jules' thoughts. He's with Alex.
I'm down here with Jules Gounon. That was a fantastic lap. No fastest sectors. What is it that how are you managing to get such pace out of this car?
Well, it's just free practice, to be honest. So we are just trying different setup to see. We have improved the car since yesterday. I disconnected a bit the radio, sorry. No, the car feeling good this weekend. Get Speed has been working really hard this year, and over the winter we came here for 2 test days. So we arrived with the car that's dialed in. But yeah, let's see. It's just FP1. You know, it's a long way to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So happy Jules Gounon. Plugs the radio back in so you can hear what the team were telling him. There's the mark of a gentleman.
Yeah, well, it's always a joker engineer that as soon as they see you on TV, they start screaming in your ear saying, don't swear, don't say this word, don't say that. And so I think that might have been what was happening there. But yeah, Jules pretty chill. He's always a calm guy, isn't he? He's got an underlying raw pace and talent. And yeah, that's in the middle of Ascari there, the road sweeper going back and forth. Interesting to see the ethos of Niels Vicic here. Does he delay this red flag to get the sweeping done? Or as soon as the car's back, we go back to green, the drivers have to live with the problem that they've created?
Get the feeling he's going to do the best he can while he's got the time, really. But the teams will want the track time. So, yeah, interesting debate, as you see there. Alessio Dono and Antonio Fuoco chatting away. And the session now is with 67 minutes still to go. Order at the moment is, well, you've heard from the fastest driver, Jules Gounon. The number 99 Alex Arca time stands for second. Third, Franck Pereira did the time. Sandy Mitchell has taken over the VSR car. And then fourth fastest is number 6 Get Speed entry. That's the Tanner Satirenko, Aaron Walker, Colin Karasani Silver Cup entry. And then fifth, Jared Wilberski's time in the BMW 33. That's the Vermeulen Lallam King 2Cs ran Aston Martin, which hasn't really ignited this morning, has it? It's been quietly getting on with the job of bringing back data for the team. But there's more to come from that car, certainly, as the session wears on, I think.
Yeah, it's hard for them, isn't it? Obviously, Lallam and Vermeulen have been so strong in the last 2 rounds of the Sprint Championship in a Ferrari. Yeah. And now they go back to their Aston Martin for endurance, joined by Harry King, of course, run by 2Cs instead of Emil Frey. And, yeah, it'd be interesting to get their feedback, Lallam and Vermeulen, who have been so quick in that Ferrari. Which one do they prefer would be my straight on question to see how they answer it, and which one do they expect to get better results in? And
why go to an Aston Martin? Because in a sense, you know, they're real. Well, Chris Lallam perhaps less so because he's not done that much real world racing, but a Radical had the engine in the back. Thierry Vermeulen's done lots of Ferrari racing over the last few years and Porsches before that. And Harry King, who's the third driver he's brought in for the Endurance Cup event, he specialises in cars with the engine in the back from Porsches and then LMP2 and Asian Le Mans at the start of the year. So there are many reasons to suggest it was an unorthodox decision to go to a front-engine car.
Yeah, I think I might go and ambush them after this session and just ask them exactly the logic behind that. As we see the McLaren, the 112 car there, wheels off. You can see how big these brakes are. They only just about fit inside of the wheel rim. And yeah, interesting shots. You can tell a lot from that. I can see he's on endless brake pad. So the brake pad material and manufacturer is open. You can use any that you like. That's nice, isn't it? And hopefully they're not brother and sister. And then, yeah, there's a huge amount to be done setup-wise there. So you can see the come to you Aston with its bonnet off. So they're doing a slightly more invasive change on that car, potentially. A lot of damper work doing. And drivers always asking to change something. And obviously, some changes very quick, some longer. And yeah, still worry about the Boots and VDS Mercedes as well, stuck in the garage. This restart time helps them, although the clock's still ticking. It stops anyone else getting laps that they're not getting, of course.
One or two concerned faces, though, as well, looking down the pit lane. The session is going to be back underway in about 2.5 minutes' time. So we're not far off getting things back underway. Let us, again, head to the pit lane. We'd seen David Pittard off the road in the 34 Valkenhorst Aston Martin. Henrique Chavez, one of his co-drivers with Alex.
I'm down here at kart 34, Henrique Chavez. This doesn't look great. What's going on?
Yeah, it doesn't look great. It's valuable time on track that we are probably losing. I mean, fortunately it's red flag, so it's for everyone. Apparently, I think something to do with turbos, but not sure yet. So they are fingering things out, and probably they'll let me know through the radio soon.
Okay, thank you. What are you learning out there on track generally for us?
It was my first time out this time, so I just did the full course yellow lap. But yeah, I mean, still figuring out setup adjustments. See where we can improve the car to fight those guys, because it's a tough championship.
Yeah. Fingers crossed you get some more laps in. Thank you.
So Henrique Chavez getting ready to rejoin. The number 333 Lamborghini that we saw off the road has now been retrieved. That's 32 BMW, about to get some new tyres put onto it, ready to go back into the session. Hugo de Wilde, we'd seen driving it previously. He is still behind the wheel of that car, which is now 36th out of the 59 that we have and 58 that have done a time. And the resumption of the session, I think when I last looked, it was 2.5 minutes away. It's under a minute now, so we are almost back in business. Hugo de Wilde drops down, and there's that queue of cars at the end of the pit lane. Everybody eager to get out and get on with the track time.
Yeah, a couple of AF Ferraris at the front, then the Winwood Mercedes, that yellow man filter car, one of my favourite liveries, just so I can spot it very easily. And then the Stella Corvette behind, the Sol Corvette, but making it a 10th manufacturer in GT Challenge Europe. So great to get double figures of different manufacturers out there. The BMW, you can see how big it is from the Top Shop Rover, then WRT, the 32 Skechers car, followed by, is that a Mercedes, a Get Speed car, isn't it? The livery's always a bit camo, it's making my eyes trip there. And yeah, you can see WRT on pit exit. It's always the preferred one pit exit because you can get out at the session as efficiently as possible. McLaren still waiting for some tyres to come. They will decide probably to let, which looks like half the field are already in the fast lane to go, and then they'll try and slot in about 35 to 40 seconds later in a bit of clear real estate. But of course, everyone else is thinking the same.
True enough. So we're pretty much half the session still to go. We're back in business. It was here at Monza that this championship began. In those days, the Blancpain Endurance Series, now having morphed into GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Endurance Cup. And in that first year of 2011, it was the Autolando Sport Porsche that came out on top. Is it going to be a Porsche win this weekend? Well, right now, the best of the 911s is 10th, and that's the Schumacher CLRT entry. Combe Ledigar Racing Team is the CLRT bit. But the session goes live once more, and I think it's going to include number 9 Mercedes. Looking at this, Maxi Goetz should be out on track, so hopefully that sensor issue now put behind them, and they can start the programme of actually getting the car dialed in, getting the laps in, and move forward over the weekend.
Yeah, still got an hour remaining. Of course, we have pre-qualifying later today as well, 3:30 local time. That's also 1 hour. So still got 2 hours of running to dial that car in. Would have saved some tyres, so that's a positive you'd take from it. And again, there's a driver, the team always trying to keep you upbeat, so they'll be trying to grasp any straw they can to throw in your direction as the cars thunder down. You'll see the banking come into shot now, and you'll see how great this whole parkland is. There is the banking. They fly under through the trees into the Ascari chicane, a left, right, left, all over the curb. You can see how little runoff there is on the left. Same on the pit, on the exit here at the corner as well. A lot of cars fire into that barrier on the left side. Cars weaving left to right, getting up to 260, 270 kilometers an hour, nearly 170 miles an hour, 3 times a lap here, and they're about to start their first flying lap since the red flag.
Fantastic. Looking down from the drone, you get a proper idea not only of the circuit but what is around it, the roads, the buildings on the outside, what's on the inside of the circuit. And here there you've got the banking in the background that was put there for the so-called race of 2 worlds when American style racing came to Monza. But Ugo de Wilde in the red BMW then comes up onto a flying lap now on that long pit straight. The drone looking at him, about to go past the pit exit blend line, onto the brakes, down through the gears, right into the first part of the chicane, left into the second, and the Team WRT entry has a little bit of dust to coat with there as the Rover car ahead ran slightly wide. Now speed building up towards the Curva Grande.
Yeah, interesting. No curb through the first chicane. Interesting because the BMW normally all over it. Maybe they've gone for a stiffer setup for better balance platform-wise, but can't ride the curb. Let's watch him through here. Is he going to be all over the curb on the left? Tiny bit, but not as much as we've seen. Tiny bit on the right as well. All the exit curb, that's nice and flat relatively into the Lesmos. You'll see the nose dip in. He'll take it to the inside. There's a slight gully in between the tarmac and the curb there as we see the 9 car. That's got smoke coming out the back of it now from the rear right. That Maxime Martin said there was a problem, but a wheel speed sensor shouldn't cause smoke like that. I'm worried that's something more in the drive shaft area
Not
now.
Not going to puncture.
No, you're right. The front right's locked, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not even moving.
No, there's an issue with the front right, either puncture and or it just looks low as well.
It's locked on. It's a puncture. Yeah. It's not rotating. And he's trying to get that car going back, but even with 550 horsepower or so, pushing that car with a fully locked tyre up. So
you can see the rubber mark on the road where it's dragging against the ground, can't you?
Yeah, so the issue wasn't on that corner, but maybe this ABS sensor has tricked something out and the front right doesn't know what to do and it's just locked solid. But that's now starting to really unravel that the problem has got worse than
it's spreading,
has
isn't
ever
it?
been.
Yeah.
Infectious.
So from a win at Alton Park to big problems here. Into the pits comes Maxi Goetz. Matteo Caroli looking on as Mauro Engel has taken over 48. But for Boots and VDS, this is, as you say, going from bad to worse. And now, of course, race control, hoping that nobody else has to dive into the pit lane. Goetz, because he's a pro, look, puts 2 wheels on the grass, getting out of people's way. That's the mark of the professional driver. He's got the presence of mind, despite the frustration, to be aware that other people are going to be using pit in. He needs to give them room.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get rear-ended at 220 Ks either. That's quite a good motivation. But obviously could be a completely separate issue. We could be trying to piece together some logic, but he might have just whacked a curb so hard he's made the wheel bearing fail or something. But yeah, that is hard as we go to Jeff McKill's here. The 52 car in 53rd place, and they want to get a bit higher. They've been showing strong in the last few rounds of sprint as well, and I hope to see them higher up.
And there's another story attached to this car. Andrea Bertolini is set to have his last race weekend. He's going to call time here because it's in Italy and Monza means a lot to him. He wants to go out here. So Andrea Bertolini, along with Louis and Jeff Machiels, it's the end of an era for one of the SRO GT family's most successful drivers, and we'll hear from Andrea come race day. Jeff Machiels then down towards the Parabolica, as right now the session has 56 minutes and change on the clock, and there is that punctured tyre. The car is up on the dollies to spin it round to get it into the garage. So yeah, the tyre has most definitely gone down. There's not a scrap of rubber remaining as far as I can see.
Not surprised not been rotating for at least 500 metres, and yeah, it'd be interesting if a mechanic dives on that corner and tries to manually turn it by hand. Interesting as well, so maybe speak to the driver and see is there any feeling from the brake pedal on that.
I mean, it's clearly more than just a puncture, otherwise they'd have put a new tyre on and sent him out. The fact that it's in the garage indicates that there is more to it. There is the Kessel Ferrari, Nicola Rossi, Nicola Sciarra and David Fumanelli's car. And right now, that pressing on is 47th with Nicola Sciarra at the wheel. It's another of the cars that runs in bronze, where Sciarra is 10th in the class right now. But of course, the Bronze Cup isn't exclusively for bronze drivers. The car must have at least one bronze driver in it. That's why you have these real quirks of some of the manufacturer drivers in the Bronze Cup, because they're the gun for hire.
Yeah, exactly. This train giving us a great illustration of the trees. And yeah, they've cut a lot of the trees down here at Monza, interestingly, especially in Sector 2 towards the Lesmos, which has really changed some of the reference points for drivers there. Interestingly, we have seen the 63 car now up to 32nd, so finally showing some pace. Couldn't really get much info from the team on what the issue was at the start of the session, but they're getting closer to the sharp end, but still nowhere near where we'd maybe expect that GRT Grasser car to be.
Ash Sutton's back into the pit lane. Dante Raponge Lamborghini, which is another of those Grasser cars in the pit lane. We know about Treble 3 from the Powell Motorsports squad after it was in the gravel. They've got to sort that out. That was another one that had a puncture. Here, in the meantime, now in 22nd in the times, is Gabriele Piana, who we tend to associate more with GT4. He's a quick GT3 driver, but it's really nice now and encouraging to see him being recognised a little bit more as a GT3 driver, and Winwood Racing bringing him into the Bronze Cup entry, and he's certainly delivering. That's good.
Yeah, he's been fast, hasn't he? He's raced so hard as well in GT4, and quite a different style of racing from GT4 to GT3 because of the extra aero in GT3. It's much harder to follow, so when you catch a slower car, you have to act quickly, otherwise you get stuck in that dirty air, and actually the move becomes harder and harder the longer you stay behind. The Winwood Mercedes looking strong there. Its sister car, 48 car, is in 5th place, so they're in a good place. He's backing out of this lap. He's going to try and keep that Audi behind, I think, because he wants the space. So he's aggressively blocking, even though he's just held up that Audi, who puts his wiper on in frustration.
Yes, the Audi is of the Qatari drivers who don't have much call back home to put the wiper on, probably. But here, the novelty strikes, and up towards the timing line now. Gabriele Piana, having maintained track position, now tries to get away. And the red flag is being shown for a second time. So there is a drama somewhere around the racetrack. And there's been an incident at the Escari chicane, we understand. So car off at the Escari chicane, session stopped. So everybody will have to make their way back round to the pit lane, and the session for the second time is being interrupted then.
You can see all the cars. It's interesting, Piana going straight on there. I can't see why he would have. The red had been out for so long. He should have been at 80 kilometres an hour. The only thing I can give him an excuse of is he practicing that for the race. Because if you do go straight on, you have to do exactly what he's done, go through all those polystyrene boards and then rejoin. You can't just jump across the grass. So maybe using that as a good opportunity to practice that, because you want to get through those quickly as you can, not to lose any time. But I'm not sure race control will look particularly fondly upon that, to be honest. Under a red flag, everyone wants to be under control, and the race director, Niels Vicic, doesn't want any extra stress on top of what he's having to deal with. So
the argument could be that that was the safest time to do it, because everybody was slow behind, so when I rejoined, I wasn't going to impede anybody, Your Honour.
True. I do see it. As a driver, I fully get it. But, yeah, on the other side, maybe an odd decision there. But, yeah, both the first chicanes, you've got this sort of escape road route you have to take. And if you take the shortcut, you will get a bigger penalty than what you've gained. So the drivers will be pretty well versed in doing the right thing now. All the drivers in a driver's briefing yesterday, almost giving the riot act from Niels Vicic in terms of what is expected as we get another great view. You can see the different parts of Monza here, and actually the banking circuit, the old 5.5 kilometre banking circuit, out was shot on the left. It was that big when they both combined, the road course, as they would call it, that we race on now, and the oval. 10 kilometres of racing. Built in 1922, the third racetrack to be purpose-built. Do you know the first two, David?
Brooklands, I'll offer you as one.
Correct.
And I want to say Indianapolis
Well
as
done.
another.
It's amazing how you're just so pretty and knowledgeable measures. How many days did it take to build Monza?
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day.
That was a bit further south.
It was, wasn't it? So on the same extrapolation, it took 3.5 months.
Oh, 110 days.
Oh, not bad.
Very good. Okay, that's all my Monza stats done, unfortunately. Sorry to you.
Right, we understand that it is number 270 that has gone off the road. That's the Jessica Hawkins, Alexandra Leroy, Antoine Potti Aston, but the timing screen reports driver okay. So that's the incident. I'm trying to see who was in the car, and I am not doing a good job of seeing who was in the car.
Don't worry, I'm doing an equally bad job.
Hasn't had a time recorded against it for some reason.
God, we can work this out. There's 59 cars on the timing screen, so it must be there, right?
Good, absolutely.
Anyway, you can see the final cars coming into pit lane. You can actually see the Ziggo Sport car there, the 93 car, and we would get into its box. And this will be some of the fears the team have during the race. If there is a long safety car or a long full course yellow, the pit lane will remain open. So they'll be able to box, and of course boxing under a yellow situation like that loses you much less track time, so that will become a busy pit lane. 59 cars, there are 60 garages, but the garages are very narrow here at Monza. They're only really the width of the car, and when you stop in the race, it's the length of the car that you need in pit lane, and you can get a great illustration there, all those cars lining up ready to go. Clock still ticking, 50 minutes remaining, so they'll just be going through their last phases of this session, what they want to achieve. And you can see that white Ferrari to the right of the three red ones. That was the Ziggo car that couldn't get in, so they've had to skate it in backwards there. So a lot of stress for the teams here.
Indeed so. And of course all of this continues to eat into the time allowed, so we're down to 49 minutes on the clock right now, but there is the second of the three Comtu Astons. That was one that was rallycrossing quite a lot early on, the Nicola Bart entry that he shares with Kirby Pavels and Jamie Day. So the first part of this is to make sure that the driver is okay, and of course in any incident a driver will go to the medical centre just as a precaution. Then you've got to get the marshals on track to get the car out of the way. Then you've got to sort out if there's any barrier repair that needs doing, and again there's probably a bit of track sweeping that will go on as well. So from race control's point of view, it's more than just moving a car.
Cool livery as well on this
it?
car, on the Kessel one. It very loud, very pops really nicely. You can see driver on board just talking to the engineer, another driver there, Mark Engel, just doing a bit of a debrief. Not sure he's actually been in the car yet, has he?
Yes, he has.
Okay.
He did briefly. He took over straight after Cairoli, and then Lucas Auer's got in next, yeah. Didn't do many laps though.
Yeah, he's obviously in a car so much, he's able just to turn the pace on very quickly. We've seen that car qualify strong, but not race as well, haven't we, so far this year? So they seem to have a very quick car over one lap on a new tyre, but it doesn't translate into a full race pace. So I assume that's where they'll be focusing their attention.
And at Zandvoort, we got quite concerned about their pit lane speed limiter, didn't we? Because in both races they were done for speeding in the pit lane, and it was by sort of 0.1 of a kilometre an hour. So it was just, we thought, slightly offset the way they'd install that.
Yeah, they'll be trying to hone in, and there is a 911 with number 911 on it. Richard Leitz, Malakin and Thomas Preening in that car, and we've seen Malakin get very quickly in a short space of time, haven't we? Started not that many years ago now, probably 4 years ago it feels like, and now it's gone all the way, and now they're in the pro class. That car has been strong at times, but I think Malakin's still just trying to find those last couple of tenths, and that'll be a very strong car come the end of the year, I think.
Yeah, he started off, didn't he, in the first season of the Porsche Cayman Championship in the UK, and then had a spell in British GT with Simon Leonard's Redline Racing team, and has been very rapid in GT machinery and in Asian Le Mans in LMP2 at the start of the year, and class winner in the WEC last year. So a really quick driver is Alex Malikin. Now, while we are under a red flag, let's catch up with Maro Engel. His Mercedes AMG is 5th. Lucas Auer behind the wheel of it. Maro Engel is ready to talk to Alex Legui.
I'm down here with Maro Engel of Car 48. Looks like Monza Temple of Speed is giving out the gifts, as always. What's it like out there?
Yeah, it's obviously great to be here. Always a great track to drive. Especially the Ascari chicane is tricky with cars going off and pulling gravel onto the track. So yeah, hope anyway the driver's okay. It looked like a pretty big crash, but yeah, for us just trying to find the right balance and optimize the car.
Just how tricky is it with 59 cars on the grid to get any sort of air that isn't full of traffic?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how much it works out to be in terms of meters of space you get per car, but it's pretty tight, yeah, for sure. It's everyone has to coexist, everyone has to sort of make a compromise, but yeah, that's the peak of GT racing.
And talk to me about tyres. Every time I come down, the pickup on the tyres is outrageous, and we've obviously struggled with punctures.
Actually, not too bad here. It's obviously very warm, so that helps. For sure, Paul Ricard was more of a topic for pickup.
Yeah, fair play. All right, thank you, Mauro.
Good to hear from Mauro Engel, very, very experienced Mercedes AMG driver, one of many, of course, who came to prominence in single-seaters racing in the UK, British Formula 3, going back a long time. He was, runner-up in the British Formula 3 Championship, beaten by Marco Asma from memory. There, Alessio Picariello's Rutronic Porsche, the blue and yellow car, and Luc Hartog in the all-blue 97 car that he is doing, if you like, a double shift in with the very, very charming Hong Kong driver Antara Zhao. If Alex is at a loose end of the pit lane, Antara Zhao is always worth talking to. He, no matter how much bad luck goes his way, he's always smiling. Very, very quick businessman racer, a great character, and class winner in Asian Le Mans at the start of the year, giving him a 24-hour entry, but coming to do GT World Challenge Europe as well, and a really, really good guy. So the one... two cars now in strife, one rather less so compared to the other, but number 9, the Maxi Goetz Mercedes, has not done a lap time in over an hour and a quarter. Now, I know when we've had a red flag, it can't be doing lap times, and even so, it's clearly not well. But number 270, the Antoine Potty Aston Martin, is the one that's triggered this red flag by going off at the Variante Ascari. So that's another car with damage, and of course the barrier needs looking at as well before we can get things back underway.
Yeah, obviously driver okay, we've been told that, so that's always the main thing. And now the circuit have to fix the barrier, and it's on the inside on the exit of 10. We said it was close there, and we've seen incidents, and yeah, we've had a big one there.
Now we looked at the Rutronic Porsches. Alessio Picariello is now with Alex.
Down here at car 96, Alessio Picariello. The Porsche has a very good history here at Monza, but how is it working out for you so far?
Well, so far it's going okay. I mean, the Mercedes looks very strong, so yeah, I guess we will find out tomorrow in quali, but we are working on our program, trying to make the best of what we have, and so far so good, let's say.
What's the deal in free practice? What's your focus really during this session?
Well, here in Monza, you need a really good car on braking, so we try to have the most consistent braking as possible, and then obviously efficiency in the straight. Obviously, you also want to have a good balance, a good degradation on tires, so you need to find the best compromise. But yeah, as we know here, qualifying is also very important. So yeah, there are a lot of things to take care of, and there's not so much time, especially with these red flags. It doesn't help, but yeah. We try to focus how we can.
Great stuff. Thank you, Alessio.
So, Alessio Picariello awaiting the resumption of the session. There is Chris Lullum, who is in the Aston Martin number 33, that Verstappen.com entry, but as we've been saying, operated by the 2Cs team, which normally specialises in Mercedes. So it's not just that the drivers are getting into a new car, but there's a team that, with respect, even though 2Cs is good, doesn't have intricate Aston Martin knowledge.
Yeah, it's a huge one going on, and interesting inside the cockpit there. You can see the radio strapped to the transmission tunnel, so that's obviously connected to the driver. The cylinder shape there will be where the drinks bottle goes in, and then you can see the dashes there. The 001 is the race control one, then 2 timing screens, a rear view camera, and then the main dash, and then look at all the sensors there. All these cars heavily censored up, not just for performance, but to check legality as well, so the organisers can check everything that's going on. Are they correct? Creating the right amount of boost at the right time, and yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful car, that Max Verstappen Red Bull car, and Lullum looking super focused, but he wanted to get some laps and just get back into the swing of how the Aston is compared to Ferrari. Like you said earlier, it's a big change moving the engine where the Ferrari is right behind you to right in front of you. Completely changes the balance. It's the single biggest difference when you jump between cars, is where the engine is positioned.
41 minutes are still on the clock. And we've been looking a little bit earlier on at number 32 BMW, that seems to have largely been, if not exclusively, Hugo de Wilde behind the wheel, the winning car from Paul Ricard. Kelvin van der Linde, one of the drivers.
I'm down here with Kelvin van der Linde of car 32. Team WIT are absolutely on fire so far this season. So, looking strong for Monza?
Yeah, I think so. It's typically a track that's been good for the BMW, so we come here with high spirits, leading all the championships. So, yeah, trying to work on the fine details now to make sure we execute well.
Good. So, just a moment ago, the boys, Ugo and Charles, were practicing what?
Driver change practice. It's like a standard procedure here. We're known for executing well, Team WRT, and that's what's won us a lot of races here in the pit stops and so on. So we want to make sure everything runs smoothly, make sure there's no mistakes in the race when it really matters. So yeah, just try and do the basics and do them right.
So even any opportunity. And Team WRT, your pit stops so far have been lightning fast, haven't they? Which will be very important here in Monza.
Yeah, they've been impressive. I mean, it puts pressure on the drivers because the mechanics are so quick with the tire changes. Obviously, endurance we don't have that kind of pressure. The pit stops are a bit longer, but nonetheless, it makes sense to just make sure everything works well, especially for Ugo, who's not typically used to doing so many driver change practices like we are in sprint. Yeah. So yeah, just getting him up to speed and feeling comfortable.
Yeah, it's certainly what helped you out, didn't it, in Zandvoort, that change? Good. Okay. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Calvin van der Linde, another star for the BMW ranks, and a man to keep an eye on now. The good news is over at the Variante Ascari that the road is clear, but a speedy dry put down just to soak up any liquid, and so won't be long, therefore, hopefully before we are back underway. No restart time issued yet, but we aren't going to be that far away. It may be, indeed, that we are, as the phrase is, restart on short notice. Alessandro Pierguidi there giving us a big smile, but the race director will want the cars on track as quickly as. So he might say restart in at a given time, or might say on short notice, because that means he can scramble them out of the pit lane perhaps sooner than that restart time if things are progressing well.
Yep, as the restart time just fires up, it will be 4 minutes and 9 seconds time. So 35 minutes past the hour as we look at the old banking. You can see some tire marks.
You said it was steep.
Yeah. Interesting. They do hold a rally round here, don't they? And I've seen them use that banking, but yeah, it gives you a great illustration there as we see the grandstand built on top of it. They get a great view of turn 1 and 2, and tomorrow afternoon when race starts, that is the place to be. Yeah. That is always the flashpoint, isn't it? And
but you're right about that banking. The first time we came here for Blancpain Endurance Series, it was decided that there would be a group photograph, all the SRO officials, and it was a small team, a much smaller team in those days, so we all went to the banking and mountaineered up, and like you said earlier, trying to get back down again was not a pretty sight.
Yeah, you need your best mountain goat.
That's right.
Don't you? But just looking at race controls, actually reported both those Rutonic cars. So we spoke to Picarello in one of them, but both cars have been asked to go to race control immediately. So that's a worrying sign for that team. I wonder what that may be. Also, Team WRT, their 30 car has been summoned. So, yeah, you can get penalties in free practice that will hurt your grid position. If it's severe enough, you will get a grid drop, even though it is only a practice session. As we look at Valkenhorst, hopefully with a fixed number 35 car there. Villagomez now on board. All cars getting ready to go. 2.5 minutes. You can see a change going on one of the Barwell Lamborghinis. I think that may be just doing a front end change. You can see him putting the bonnet back on that car now. That would be good to go. There we have our leading car in this session at the moment. The 17 car, just trying to spot the helmet. Is that still Jude Gould on top of it? Get speed. We've got their tyres on and it getting released nice and early. That may be one of, if not the first cars into the fast lane.
So 2 minutes and a bit on the clock, ready to get things back underway. We have had, are you talking about Rutronic and going to race control? We've had quite a lot of team managers being summoned, but we've not had any more after it. So if it is an offence, maybe it's been just a finger wag. Now, there's a car that is on its way, yes, to the very exit of the pit lane, joins the queue nice and early, and others biding their time. Again, do you want to be first out onto a relatively clear circuit or let the traffic go? Whatever you do, you're kind of damned, aren't you? Because if you're out early, you catch the stragglers, and if you're a straggler, then you've got cars all around you.
Yeah, you kind of want to be first or last. Yeah. That's where I always thought. Of course, on the outlap, you can still fight your way through and try and find some space. But when everyone else is trying to do the same thing, it is very difficult to generate some clear track so you can get some good laps in. The other mindset that a lot of engineers will say to us as drivers, don't worry about clear laps because you're not going to get it in the race, so just get out there and tell me what the car is like. And you go, but my lap time, people won't know how great I am, they can't see how fast I am if I'm stuck behind someone slow. I need clear track. And you look at them like they're an idiot, and they look back at you like you're an idiot because you are.
let us go to the ComTU team. Francois Verbeest is the team manager. He can shed light on what's been going on for us.
I'm down here with Team Director of ComTU, Francois Verbeest. Firstly, most importantly, is Antoine okay? What information have you been given?
Yeah, unfortunately we didn't have a radio contact with him, but we directly talked with the race control, which was in contact with the rescue team, and apparently he is okay. So he walked out of the car and he's been to hospital for checks and make sure to the medical, not yet to hospital, but apparently the first info from race control is that he's okay.
Okay, and do you know what it was that happened?
No, I just know that he was on new tires, so he just did actually quite a good lap time the lap before. Was improving sector 1 and 2. So out of turn 10, I guess a bit too quick out of the chicane, but too early to say. We have to analyze data and video. The car is not back yet, but definitely is a big shunt.
Right, thank you.
And indeed, what Francois Verbeest is saying is true. The car of Antoine Potty had done a personal best first sector on that lap before the incident, and the reports we're getting is that quite a bit of damage has been done. So whether that is ready for this afternoon is a no. Whether it's ready for tomorrow is a big question as well. So we know that teams can work wonders, but we'll see whether or not that car can be made good and start at the back of the grid for tomorrow's race. And Antoine Potty will go, as you've just heard, to the medical centre, and we wish him well. So the session is back live for 34 minutes, and drivers now trying to get themselves back up to pace. And we've still got this question mark hovering over number 9, haven't we, which has gone back out, so it's no longer being shown. This is the Maxi Goetz Mercedes I'm talking about, number 9. It's not being shown as in the pit lane at the moment, so it's on the circuit at least.
Yeah, that's some comfort for them. Every right-hand side tyre's had a problem in that car so far, as it started on the rear right to the front rights. So hopefully the lefts are still happy, as we see Lucas Stolz now aboard the 17 Get Speed car, fastest overall at the moment. He's got the best track position at the moment, and I say at the moment because cars are still streaming out of pit lane. We still have 20 cars in pit lane making their way, and Lucas Stolz will be there in about 23 seconds time, so he will want them to get on their merry way.
And if you think this looks busy, just imagine 76 of them around Spa. I mean, that is going to be track position, traffic management, all of those words magnified, isn't it? Because it's going to be so busy. And of course in the pit lanes, plural, it's going to be very, very busy down in the pits also. So Spa this year is going to be a real challenge for everybody involved. Still the pit lane empties, and this is the point we were making earlier about the stragglers versus those that were out early, because straight away you come through at the end of your first lap and you've got traffic not only behind you but ahead as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely old enough to remember Nokia phones that had Snake on it as a game. Kind of feels like that. Lucas Stolz is the head of that Snake, and now that Corvette is a bit of food he just needs to eat up and get on his merry way. But when you look at the live timing screen with all the cars on a dot, it is just one continuous circle. It's a chain of cars around this Monza circuit.
Nokia phone, yes, vaguely remember them. My grandfather told me about those. Through the chicane goes Lucas Stolz then. He's taken over now from Jules Gounon. So this is the car that's fastest by a tenth of a second from Alex Arca's Audi. From Pereira's time putting 163 Lamborghini third. And then Tanat Safran-Tirancoul is at the wheel of the 4th placed Mercedes, Lucas Auer. And then Will Moore in number 42 BMW that's been going really nicely as well this morning.
Yeah, and Will Moore's been racing for a few years now. Good to see him back in Europe, done a fair amount in British GT, but now back in the world's most competitive GT championship, in my opinion. 59 cars, there is a hard place to slot yourself in. As you see, every car in front of Lucas Stolz in that silver Mercedes is on an out lap, so he's got a chance where they might get out of the way because they're not on a timed lap, but they're also focusing on getting ready for a timed lap as he backs out of it, which then makes the Grasser Lamborghini dive to the inside. That really caught out, and then Stolz goes back to the inside of him. It is all kicking off there at the last corner. Almost didn't look particularly well planned, and Jordan Pepper got the jump on Stolz.
And Pepper is another one that needs to try to find some time in that car, because early on, remember, the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini was really rather struggling, but now getting itself up the order. with 31 minutes on the clock. 2 hours of free practice, big chunk of time given to them. Up the curb goes Jordan Pepper then as he whacks the curb on the first part of the first chicane. The Rettifilio then back onto the power now towards the curve of Grande that goes on and on and on.
Flying through the gears. You can see the sparks come off the titanium skid block as he hit that curb so hard the splitter went. Audi in front. Are we going to take a huge bite out of him? Gap wide on the brakes here. That'll be Pepper's worry. He's going to have to try and get round him. Huge amount of curb again. Misses the one on the right. It's a slight dip on the exit there. Traction good on this Lamborghini. Short break here, down a gear, tuck it into that gully I was talking about on that curb. We're now in the area of dirty air to this Audi in front. The air coming off that car isn't letting this Lamborghini stick to the ground as much as Pepper would like. Up to fourth gear now, flying along, 220 kilometers an hour, up to fifth, under the old banking. Grabs sixth. We've got a yellow flag in the sector we're coming at. Where is it? It's a car on the exit. It's actually the sister car, car 19, and we're slowing right down. So we're giving up on this lap, but there is a car off. Let's have a look on the exit, and it is the sister car.
In the middle of the road, he's had a spin then, coming out of the chicane. So number 19 has rotated, and that car is in an awkward place. Race director giving the driver time to fire it up and get it out of the way. It is Dante Rapponge at the wheel of number 19 Lamborghini that is down in 55th in the times. But of course, even if Rapponge can get the engine fired up, he's got to wait for a gap in the traffic. Good luck with that.
Yeah, and he's sat on the other side as well, so that is fully blind. I genuinely think his only options are either to look at the marshals in front who could tell him to go, or the team tell him, which I think is too much of a risk for the team to take control. I think we're going to have to go full course yellow just to let him rejoin. I think that's the only way he's going to be able to do that, unless he tries to get reserve. Wow.
He was very nearly in the paddock.
Yeah, he was off through the previous corner. It was like a 720 Tony Hawk style through the gravel trap. How he's missed the barrier is insane. Great work by the marshal to get the yellow flags out as quickly as he can, but he was well offline coming into shot, and you can see the witness mark where those liquids were dropped out of potty there, and that's going to be a flash spot this weekend, is the exit of turn 10 Ascari chicane.
Right, so for the moment then, Dante Rapponge sits and waits to try to get back in the traffic. There's a gap there. Is he going to be able to go for it? That's his best chance yet, and he's not moving. And that now makes me think that he doesn't have an engine to power him, as in the car is stalled, which isn't perhaps a surprise after that big lose. So we could be looking at a third red flag here, or as you say, a full course yellow. But for the moment, that car is not going anywhere, red flag. So the session is being stopped. It's just Murphy's Law, isn't it? So that is, you can hear the groan from race control when they saw that. So now, interesting it was a red, not a full course yellow, as you were predicting. But the net result is that the session is stopped, and Dante Rapponge, tries to hide himself in the queue. Not me. I'm moving, not me. So everybody will come back in, but we can restart this on short notice because the track is clear.
Yeah, it's frustrating we can't just go back to green. Unfortunately, we have to follow procedure, and you have to get all cars back to pit lane. And Nils Vetic will just be going, I gave him so much time, so much that car's definitely lost its engine, like you said, David. It's the only option. And then red flag, and it was amazing how the red flag coming out let him select reverse gear. I can't work out the technical link there. Just going back to Pepper's on board, I have to say, super respectful of how much he slowed down for the yellow flags. Drivers are under a very hard position there with a yellow flag. The rules are clear. Double wave yellow, you have to slow down and be ready to stop. To stop at the exit of that corner, you're doing 170 kilometers an hour. So to come to a stop, you need to be going a lot slower. But is the yellow flag redundant? Has the car already gone as a driver? Am I slowing down for no reason? Is it just a bit of gravel that the yellow flag's out for? But Pepper, I have to say, super respectful. He backed out a huge amount there correctly, but these are all pressures drivers face, especially in the race. It's easy not to improve your sector so you look innocent, but if that car was on the racing line and he drives into an accident, it's inexcusable. But if you lose half a second and then you don't win the race because you're 4/10 behind, that's inexcusable. So get my driver excuse book out early on in the weekend, I know, but it was good to see from the onboard just how well Jordan Pepper respected the yellow flags.
Saw Mathieu Drudy a moment ago, winner of that CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa for Aston Martin, for ComTU, the Belgian team, last year. And the drivers now, again, all waiting for the cars to come back into the pit lane, but with the road clear, it shouldn't take long to get things back underway. Of course, the other argument for the red flag is that if that Lamborghini had stalled, then you'd need marshals to go onto the circuit to either give it a push or get a recovery vehicle. You can't do that under a full course yellow, so in that respect the red was the only option. But as you say, something as soon as the red light came on triggered the Lamborghini to roll backwards. But we are where we are. 25 and 3/4 minutes will be on the clock any second, and some of the teams are already preparing themselves for the resumption and what else they can learn in this now 3-time interrupted session. So it's been a little bit bitty for the teams. They've not been able to get the teeth into a real run, certainly not in that second hour.
No, it's been really difficult, and they would have been wanting to do race runs, and this is the opposite to a race run, so maybe they'll have to switch their attention now to pre-qualifying, which is only an hour, but you could maybe fuel the car up to give all 3 drivers a chance of feeling the car in race trim. As the cars stream back in all at 80 kilometres an hour. It's a good check just to make sure their 80 kilometres an hour is as optimal as possible. It's a changeable setting, so yes, it's 80, but is race controls 80 the same as the 80 that you're getting in your car, so you can trim it up or down if necessary. And again, look how busy the pit lane is. Cooperation needed from the teams there to even get their cars back into their areas.
Yes, you've got to get on with your neighbours in GT racing, haven't you? Comte, of course, with one fewer car at the moment because it is in the paddock in a state of disrepair. There are the Rotronic Porsches, then you get to pit out where WRT is, and that's kind of the ideal place to be, isn't it? Because you've got a little bit more space on one side of you, and as soon as you release the car, then you can virtually accelerate straight away. You don't have to do that long crawl down the pit lane. It works the other way, of course. You've got all of the time on the way in, but difficult on the way in, quick on the way out when you're released. Dante Raponge then had that spin that triggered the red flag. Let's hear from him with Alex.
Well, I'm down here with the man himself, Dante Raponge of car 19. That looked like a rather hairy moment.
Yeah, it was one of the scariest moments I had in my career until now, but yeah, I just made a mistake going a bit to the gravel. Was my own mistake. The car was good and was just a shame. Didn't need to happen.
Yeah, the car was looking really strong. I mean, there's actually no damage by the looks of it. You're about to go straight, well, no, you're not about to go straight back out, but that's remarkable.
Fortunately, no. Yeah, I'm very happy with that, but it shouldn't have happened.
Is the track suiting the car generally?
Yeah, the car's really good, really on rails, so Grosser made the perfect car. Now it's up to us to deliver, and we will do.
And now you, Dante, what will you do?
I will calm down, take a water, maybe a coffee, and I will be okay.
Good, go do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Like he didn't have enough coffee already to stimulate the activity on track. So he's all smiles, the car is undamaged, the team is relieved, and it will go back out then. Number 19, Dante Raponge has had a stint, so too has Baptiste Moulin, so Ivan Eklerchik will be the third driver to have a go this morning in that car. 23 minutes are on the clock as the pit lane empties again.
Yeah, it was a good interview. I like a few things. He was owning up to the mistake, which is rare for a driver. The only thing as a team, as a driver, I think I would have kept him in the car. When you fall off your bike, you want to get back on, don't you? So the next time he faces turn 9, 10 Ascari, he would have had over 4 hours to think about it now. And he's talking about the car being great, but it is at the moment in 55th position, last in class as well. So maybe they've been working through a program like the sister car and we're about to show their true pace.
An unsafe release for car 30 has just been noted, according to the message line on the screen. That's the Etienne Shelley, Gilles Stadsbader, Gustav Bergström, WRT BMW. Number 51, Ferrari then, now with Alessandro Pierguidi at the wheel. Last year's Endurance Cup champion, and of course who came oh so close to winning that CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, but for the stranded Lamborghini ahead of him in the pit lane when he made his last pit stop that you could just not make up. Over the line goes the Ferrari then. They've had a bit of a tough morning. Behind it is Lucas Auer on the headlights, as warning the Porsche of Rotronic that I'm on my way, as 96 rejoins the pack.
Yeah, this is the fastest Ferrari so far this session, down in 18th position. Only 0.8 of a second behind, so less than a 1/10 loss per corner around this Monza circuit. But yeah, maybe they are just on their race run, so they're not looking for ultimate lap time. It's consistency they are after. Car looks okay balance-wise, seemed to be able to place it. Maybe a little lethargic through the left, wasn't able to hustle it through. It just kind of meandered round the first left. But I'm sure AF course will have everything in hand.
They're 44th in the times, Robert Renault's Porsche. That flicks through shot. And 33rd in the times is Jordan Pepper. More to come from him. But again, how much you read into this in terms of the order, probably not very much. It's really the times that we need to be looking at and the relative positioning of where the cars are. For example, your best Porsche is only 12th, which is quite a long way down. Your best BMW, you've got to find quite a long way down the order as well. The best of the Fords, 28th. So one or two of the teams having a tough morning.
You know, we heard Picarello saying the Mercs were strong, and they definitely are, aren't they? There's 3 inside of the top 6 at the moment, top 5, sorry. Audi looking good as well. McLaren there or thereabouts. Optimum will be happy with that. I think they're 9th overall fastest. McLaren, as we go on board a Mercedes, the 48 car, about to cross the finish line, and the start line's a long way down. So we cross the finish line there, and the start line is now. So a big gap between the two. Interesting there as we go to an outside shot. That yellow Mercedes was the car we were on board behind the fluoro blue and yellow Porsche. Super low, gets a chance to see exactly how these cars bounce over the curbs. You can see the car bucking under traction there. And then look at those 4 cars that he's worried about. They're going to hold him up on this lap for Lucas Auer, currently 5th at the moment, going through the gears. This lovely, naturally aspirated V8 AMG Mercedes engine. Gears down, 1, 2, 3. So 3rd gear through here, hopping over the curbs up to 4th. Normally you would leave it in 4th. Let's listen in. Yeah, rolls through in 4th, all the way through. So much aerodynamic grip, big slide there from the Porsche in front. Rear tyres, we're getting towards the end of their life, most probably in this session. And look at that snap. That was awful. Auer didn't blink at all, did he? If that Porsche wasn't there, he did nothing different. He just carried on his line. The amount of times you see a driver follow an accident is uncanny, but Lucas Auer there, cool, calm and collected as that Porsche decided to vacate into the scenery. As soon as it hit the curb, it looked like the differential of the Porsche, so how the power is delivered to either rear wheel just looked like the inside one just gripped up, and suddenly it just sent him stage left. He's able to continue, but that would have been a scary, scary moment aboard that Porsche.
Now Maxi Goetz, as we've got a car off, that's the 42 BMW. Will Moore at the wheel of it, the Century car. That was the fastest BMW. Red flag yet again. Can you believe it? I was about to say Maxi Goetz has got number 9 Mercedes up to 7th, but Will Moore is a long way off the road. The car beached in the gravel bed, coming through the first of the Lesmo bends. He's gone a long, long way off there, and with 18 minutes on the clock, red flag once again.
Yeah, it feels like the red flags are breeding red flags, doesn't it? Because there's frustrated drivers just parked up, waiting to get going. And then when they're finally released, all the blood is in the wrong part of their body to drive well. And yeah, that is a long way off for Will Moore. Interesting, exactly the same place as we saw the Porsche have its moment. So potentially a change in grip level. I can't see it, and it didn't look like it from when we were on board with Lucas Auer there. But yeah, that is in deep, and that will go everywhere. That gravel absolutely fills every little nook and cranny and crevice.
And with only 17 minutes to go, the question now would be, are we going to get back underway? It's not going to be that long a process, but you know, you've got to get everybody in, you've got to get the car out of harm's way. The good news is there's no barrier to look at.
Yes, that is very true, and the marshals were there super fast, actually there before the cars have all come into pit lane. Race control happy that the cars are slow enough. I'm sorry, it's Lesmo 1, I thought it was Lesmo 2, so the corner before where we saw the Porsche have the moment, and yeah, I think race control are keen to get us back to green, and that's why they've allowed the marshals to go out. Quite rightly, I think, in my opinion, all cars are 80 kilometres an hour, so it's a safe, controlled environment.
We'd had Eduardo Liberati put number 611 Mercedes AMG up to 4th. Maxi Goetz had gone 7th, finally being able to turn some laps. That car has now done 5, whereas others are in the 30s in terms of laps. And because everybody comes back in again, you can see how crowded it is. At Haupt Racing Team, for example, there isn't space now to turn the other car around and get that into play. So Will Moore, who's raced in Ginettas as well as GT4 in the UK and in the European Series in the Academy Motorsport Mustang last year, he's the driver that's in the gravel. It was the Century BMW that was the fastest of the BMW entries, but now I'm afraid to say that car may not be seen again in this session. 16 minutes on the clock and counting. They should get some laps in because it's almost out of the gravel. Thinking BMW, let's head to 991 BMW. That's the Darren Lung, Ash Sutton, Sean Galile entry, and Sean Galile out of the car, is able to talk to Alex in the pit lane.
A quick word with you, Sean Galale of car 991. Sean, talk us through, at this stage of free practice, are you now really aiming to mimic race runs?
Yeah, I think so. I think pre-quali is where we focus on the short stints, but yeah, now we focus on long runs, see how the car is on heavy fuel load and lighter fuel load, and yeah, just edge everything closer. We had a test day yesterday as well, so that helps everything get closer together. But yeah, it's just finalizing little details for the race tomorrow.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Will Moore brings his BMW back. You saw him weaving left and right to try and shake the gravel out of the bottom. This is the good news then, that the car is undamaged, and the gravel trap at Lesmo 1 is now being scattered all around the circuit. But with 15 minutes to go, the team's thinking, come on, hurry up, get back in, because we want to get running again. The fast lane is not yet open, but again, the teams are going to be on their toes, so the session will resume. Now, has gravel just got somewhere where it shouldn't in the car?
I worry about that, and I was about to say the problem is when there's that much gravel, it can get inside the engine bay, and obviously the belt which drives the oil pump, that can get snapped essentially because a bit of gravel can get in there. And if he's had an oil pressure warning, the team will just tell him to turn it off immediately if the car hasn't done it automatically. But yeah, that would be my worry there. And he's still stationary as well, and the power's going on and off. It of course could be a completely separate issue, but it's not looking good at the moment. But the gravel streaming out of that in the car, that is so loud. It's literally like you're sat underneath a fruit machine that's just done its major payout. It is dinging and pinging absolutely everywhere. But that yeah, it doesn't look positive, does it?
Yeah, marshals are saying what's going on, trying to push the car off the track. Let's go back to the pit lane. Federico Malvestiti is now with Alex.
A quick word with Federico Malvestiti of car 15. Federico, talk to us about how the BMW is faring here at Monza.
They're behaving quite well, I have to say. The car is quite balanced, especially in the braking zone. We can cut quite well the curbs. Of course, it's a mess. A session like this full of red flag, especially just so close to the qualifying. It's difficult to find the right pace, but more or less the car is good.
Just how tricky is it, and what does that to a driver's mindset when you just frustratingly cannot ever find a clean lap with all these red flags?
Yeah, it's very frustrating because, of course, you just go out, you want to try to have a couple of push in a row, but then you do one lap and then you're in the traffic and then immediately red flag. So it's very frustrating, but it's like this. It can be like this also tomorrow in qualifying, so we have to get used to it.
Yeah, fair play. All right, thank you very much.
We're about a minute away from the resumption of the session. As you can see, the Century Motorsport BMW is off the road. There it will stay. The race control team, having stopped the session for the car, don't want to delay things any further, so it will remain there for another 13 minutes. And
unsafe release from the McLaren there.
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
see the car, so the Mustang had to come to a full stop. And yeah, this is what we're going to see. And that could be one of those penalties I was talking about, that only free practice, but you could qualify somewhere and get a penalty because of a free practice misdemeanor. And 12 minutes remaining, we've already had, what, 4 red flags now?
Yep, that's it. And that's the last of them. We're not going to have another one, I will confidently predict, even though red flags have red flags so far. But, I mean, Will Moore, we haven't really seen how he got there, but a long, long way off, car undamaged. So, big disappointment. And for Century as well, hoping that that car hasn't picked up any residual damage, because it had been looking so good. Partly thanks to the efforts of Max Janssen, who was driving the car early on, and he's with Alex in the pits.
Time to chat to one of the drivers of car 42, Max Janssen. What's going on?
I haven't seen the incident from Onboard yet, just that Will was in the gravel. Car looked all fine. There was a slight issue, I think, with the battery, so no risks. We didn't want to cause any further damage to the car, so just parked it. We have to wait for the end of the session, but up to now it's going mega. Will was going mega at a mega first sector as well, I saw. So we have to see what's happened, but no big deal, it looks like right now.
Okay, frustrating, but fingers crossed. Thank you, Max.
Yeah, Max Janssen not looking overly concerned, is he? The Century Motorsport team, the British team, run by Nathan Freak and his father Clive. They will get the car back in due course and be able to analyse the issue. So 11 minutes still on the clock. We're back up and running, hopefully all the way now through to the checkered flag. And it is Mercedes, AMG from Audi, from Lamborghini, your top three.
Yeah, just look at the 93 car there. Struggling at the moment, 55th place, Eddie Cheever aboard the car. What's he going to be able to do? Final cars getting out of pit lane, although the Winwood Mercedes, no tyres on that car yet. Interesting. They're obviously quite happy with their progress so far, as you see a stream of cars going. Bit of an underhand tactic I used to do here at Monza. You can see how narrow that pit exit is. You can't cross the white lines. So if you're in there, you can go as slow as you want, and you can back everyone up behind you and create your own space. It was the most enthralling experience, holding up numerous drivers and they could do nothing about it, and then you tried to escape and they didn't try and hit you on the outlap.
Did you bully people at school as well, or is it a new thing?
No, I think it's just an ego thing. I don't think it was malicious.
Right, okay. Again, Your Honour. Up towards the line, 32 BMW, which early on was rather dominated by Hugo de Wilde. Charles Weerts has now taken that car over. We've not really seen what this car's capable of, 43rd, but he did have a clear bit of circuit, like one straight. Now he's going to get cars coming out of the pit lane. So Charles Weerts clears 48, which is Lucas Au once again, and very nearly ran too deep into the chicane.
Yeah, again, he might have just been caught out by the Mercedes, or he might have decided, I want to brake late to make sure I can get round him, but then compromises. And the problem is that makes the second part much, much tighter, and then you lose time all the way through Casa Grande. You're on full throttle for 20 seconds in between turns 2 and 4. So if you're 2 or 3k down, that hurts you all the way till now. Hard on the brakes, over the curbs. Charles Weerts smashing those curbs nicely through the exit. This is where Will Moore went off in another BMW car, pitches in, darts to the inside, very confident to throw a lot of steering lock on, and you can see the car pitch into the inside of the corner. Same again here at Lesmo 2. Bounce the car looking nice. 9 minutes remaining now. Are they going to lift themselves higher than 43rd position? They would be hoping so.
So towards the Variante Ascari, the cars pour, and 9 minutes of the session to go. Charles Weerts, we understand, not happy with the front of the car, so WRT are going to have to do a bit of head scratching between this and the pre-qualifying hour, which starts at 3:30, to try to get to the bottom of whatever the dramas are there. Down towards the Curva Michele Alboreto, ne Parabolica, comes Charles Weerts. Is he going to stay out, or is he going to come in? Are they going to use the time now to have a look, or is he going to turn some laps? Well, it looks like he's going to stay out. He comes up now towards the timing line, goes through. So Lukas Stoltz currently in the car that is quickest. It was a Jules Gounon time. Lukas Stoltz currently behind the wheel. No Jules Gounon. Fabien Schiller sitting and watching as well. The Get Speed team that's made a big step forward this year, being able to fight now for the top of the leaderboard. There is 611, which is now up to 4th in the times. This car now starting to go nicely in the hands of Kazuto Kotaka, and up to 4th fastest. Went off the road yesterday. Tim Sandler had it off the road. I think the time, in fairness, was done by Eduardo Liberati, but Kotaka is also pretty rapid, pretty handy driver. And number 611, the Nordic Racing entry, stepping up to the Pro Cup for the weekend, into the Gold Cup for the weekend, goes by. Kotaka, part of the Toyota Gazoo Racing stable, Super Formula Lights champion, single-seater racer initially, but now plying his trade in GT cars. Over the line it goes, and onto a proper flying lap now goes Kotaka.
Yeah, fastest in its class as well, like you said, the Gold class, so that will be very positive news for that car. Another car that's kind of gone under the radar is that Sandy Mitchell, 1/3 at the moment, the 163 VSR car. Super strong lineup in that. Mitchell, Michelotto and Frank Pereira there, as we see Maxi Gotts now up to 7th position after a torrid start to the session for this car. So the Boots and VDS guys have worked hard and got it on, and this lap even faster. But look at the Mercedes domination of the top 7 there. That is a huge one. I think this lap could be really strong. This could get him to 2nd place. Not quite good sector 3 as I thought. You can see that sector 3 was his biggest loss of the lap, but up to 5th nonetheless. They'll be happy with that. They were fastest in one of the paid sessions yesterday, and car looking pretty compliant all over the curb. You can see the green part of the curb starting to get rubbing in as these Pirelli DHG tyres slam across the curbing on the inside.
You can imagine, can't you, looking at the way that the Mercedes AMGs have gone this morning. One or two other teams and brands heading to Claude Sermont, who is the technical delegate, to say, oh, you know, you've got to help us on the BOP, you know, look how dominant these Mercedes are. And Claude has to look at all the data and see who is sandbagging and who is genuine on pace if they're a bit further down than they would like to be. Marvin Dienst has just put the 81 Mercedes up into 6th. So it goes Mercedes, AMG, then Audi, then Lamborghini. And then you've got 5 Mercedes AMGs all in a stack. 9th the best BMW, which was 42, before Will Moore put it off the road. And then 10th another Audi, which is 88, currently being driven by Ricardo Casanaga.
Lucas Stoltz here on a pretty clean lap. Look at that. Yes, they're not green sectors, but we saw Gounon do the same. This is a chance to improve the lap time, I think, as Gounon's sector 3 was slightly compromised, but I think Lucas Stoltz could also find himself slightly compromised by the 51 Ferrari there. Vincent Abril aboard. There's a big enough gap at the moment, but Stoltz backs out of it. 5 minutes remaining. He decides he wants to try and get a better clear lap on his next one.
Right, so Stoltz with just over 5 minutes on the clock. And if you're a savvy team, your session won't end at the checkered flag. It'll end after the car has come in and you do one last practice pit stop.
Yeah, exactly. The teams always work backwards and be telling their drivers this is what we want you to do. And sometimes they will give a lap up to be able to get a proper pit stop in before all the other cars come in and make it too busy in pit lane to be able to cycle through that. You actually have the 9 car behind as well of the Mark VDS car. So it's all kicking off here as we look at another Mercedes, this one of the Winward. Diest, as you said, now up to 7th overall. This was a strong lap. It didn't look particularly quick into the last corner, but I might be wrong on that one.
Maxi Goetz up to 2nd. So after so much drama at the start of the session, Maxi Goetz now 98,000 shy of the Jules Gounon time. So it's only Maxi that's really driven the car today. But finally, number 9 looks like it's back at the races. It's gone 2nd fastest. So that now means you've got a Mercedes AMG top 2, as well as 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th.
Yeah, it's looking strong for the manufacturer. Never won at Monza before in the 12th previous attempts, our 13th time here with Blancpain into GT World Challenge Series. But Mercedes looking very good.
Session into the last 4 minutes. Casaniga's Audi that I mentioned a moment ago has just pitted. Marvin Dienst then here coming up through the Rogier chicane, and the German F4 champion as far back as 2015 goes by. That now 5th quickest is 48 Lucas Auer. He's tucked up behind Darren Lung's Paradigm BMW. It's Darren's team, but it's operated by Simon Traves, who splits his time between running GT cars and racing in a Briscoe Formula 1 stock car. Getting out of the way, just about getting out of the way, that Grasser Lamborghini. Very, very, very slow, though, that car. Is that a problem, or is that track space?
It looked like he was trying to find space, but I just hated the speed delta. I could see what happened of the car of Auer jinking to the inside, slightly unsighted. But yeah, the Lamborghini has now stopped, actually, so that was a bigger problem than we thought. That's the 63 car that's been having a strange session, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Up and down the timing screens, doing quite sporadic things. There's a touch of the grass there for the 34 Aston Martin of Pittard. We saw him go through the gravel just there, but he is pushing hard. They're having to hustle that Aston to try and get a lap time out of it.
And 63 has got going again, so it's heading up towards the line. It's Mirko Bortolotti at the wheel. So yeah, that is certainly a car that needs investigation. David Pittard down to the Parabolica with 2.5 on the clock then as he accelerates through that fast right-hander. David Pittard sharing the car with Christian Cronjes and Enrique Chavez. Cronjes winner of the Spa 24 Hours some seasons back. David Pittard pits.
It's not that hard, is it?
Who else is improving? Marvin Dienst up to 3rd now, so it's a Mercedes AMG 123 at the top of the times. 30th fastest right now, Marvin Kirchhofer, another driver who was on British GT duty at Alton Park a week ago. And we understand that Maxi Goetz has been up the escape road at turn 1. I'm not suggesting that's how he did the personal best lap, it's the lap after, but just for the point of record, he's been off the racetrack. Kirchhofer a bit stuck in traffic here.
Yeah, really compromised there, and down in 31st position at the moment. Don't feel like Garage 59 are having a particularly fast free practice at the moment.
No.
And, could just be on race runs, could just be a bit unlucky, as I say that, up to 16th. So he's just found himself 15 places quite nicely and efficiently right at the end of the session. This will be his last lap.
You were absolutely spot off there, weren't you, in your prediction? Well done. Right, Lucas Auer watching in the meantime, who would like to make it Mercedes AMG's 1, 2, 3, 4, because he's the best of the others, which is 6th. Is that an improved lap time as he comes through? Yes, he's up to 4th, that's it. So all the cherries in a line on the fruit machine for Mercedes AMG now. They've locked out the top 3, now the top 4 in terms of classification. A couple of cars unsafe release, no further investigation necessary. They were both one WRT, one Verstappen.com cars, so that's okay. There is treble 1, that's Arthur Rougier's McLaren, the best of the McLaren, that is in 8th. And again, like we saw at Ricard, CSA just quietly go about the job and do it very well.
Yeah, and Rougier's been so fast, fastest lap of the race in race 2 at Zandvoort as well, so got on top of that car very, very well, and got a headlight out, but that's no problem for Monza. It was only daylight running, but it's probably from all the curb abusage. You can see didn't quite get that second curb right, the car squirreled away there, but yeah, CSA doing a mega job as we see our fastest car of the session. This won't be an improvement, 7/10 down in sector 2. There's our second fastest car at the moment, has a chance. Look, he's less than 400ths off the fastest, could get a bit of a toe off that Porsche. He'll be praying it gets out the way, flash of the headlights. What's that Porsche going to do? Looks like it's in the way, out of the way enough where it's not going to hold him up. But Luca Stoltz, I think, could be under part. No, they just seem to back out of a lap there. But with the time remaining, he's going to take the check and then box. So he's obviously seen on the Delta he's down and decided I'm going to save the car.
Yeah, I was going to say he was slower in those 2 earlier sectors, so there's no real benefit for staying out, particularly as the drivers then take the checkered flag. Sometimes the benefit of doing one final lap into the pit lane, one final push lap, is that off the road goes 52 Ferrari then. That's the Machiels Pere-Fils Andrea Bertolini entry, and it's Louis Machiels at the wheel. That's Machiels Senior. I was going to say the only benefit is you come in on really hot tyres, so you bring back data for Pirelli at the end of a run like that. So getting a replay, the Ferrari up towards the Roger chicane, loses it under braking, around goes the back. No harm done, but a rather red-faced Louis Machiels, who's been another stalwart SRO GT racer for many, many years now, he'll head back to the pit lane.
Yeah, just the common theme of the session almost is just putting a wheel on the dirt, under braking. You can see the dust kick up, and then you just get a disparity in grip between left and right, and the car naturally spins 180. So, yeah, lives to fight another day, and a lesson learned in the best session of it, as we see the Mercedes there, Nordique Racing, up to 3rd position by the end.
Yeah, Kotaka going quicker than Liberati had done, so doing a good job to go ahead of Dienst and Auer. So we have 5 Mercedes AMGs up at the top of the times. I refer you to an earlier point we made about different brands and their attitude post-session. There you can see the teams with the stop boards waving in their cars. 48 then at the end of the session, Lucas Auer bringing the car in. 81, another of the Winwood cars, 4th, Marvin Dienst, so 4th and 5th for Winwood. Get Speed top, Boots and VDS 2nd, Nordique 3rd. And we've got an Audi there that's going very, very slowly. Look, so white flag being brought out to warn people of a very slow car in a straight line. There's the fastest car in the session.
Big traffic. Yeah, copy that. Such a shame. Nevertheless, Luca, good job. 46.69. I was the lap. Good job.
So Luca Stoltz suggesting he could have wanted to go faster, but found traffic. Team acknowledging that, saying it's all good. And we've gone full course yellow at the very end with that slow Audi on track. So everybody having to come in at the full course yellow delta speed. Well, we read into that, oh dear, the WRT BMW, is it WRT's 32 entry, or is that one of the Paradigm cars that's going to take the flag again? In fact, all the WRT cars are going through, aren't they? It's another of them, the number 30 BMW has gone by. So the checker flag was shown. Anyway, I was going to say what we have learnt from that is that the Mercedes AMG is very, very strong indeed.
Yeah, just trying to work out why WRT have done that. They took the checkered flag the lap before, so yes, full course yellow is out, but full course yellow doesn't take precedent over the checkered flag. Checkered flag is done.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting session to say the least from Mercedes. What are they going to do? Are they just saying that's the speed we've got, everyone else is sandbagging, so just trust us, we don't need any adjustment? Or is everyone else going to start screaming blue murder?
I suspect the latter, because teams always want to be quicker. Teams will tell you, we just want parity, but parity means we want to be faster by a tenth, and then everybody else on the same page behind us. From the drone, you get a glimpse of what is around Monza, and there you can see now the order at the end of the session. Jules Gounon doing the top time, only Maxi Gertsever drove number 9, 5 thousandths the margin in the end, and then 4 thousandths back. The Tim Sandler, Kazuki Kotaka, and Eduardo Liberati Mercedes, which was also the fastest in the end in gold. Fastest bronze, thanks to Marvin Deans, 81 at Mercedes AMG. That was 4th, ahead of the hour time that put Lucas, Matteo Caroli and Mauro Engel 5th, and then Alex Arca's time giving them the top spot in silver, the car shared with Ezequiel Perez-Companc and Alberto Di Folco. 7th was Mirko Bortolotti, ahead of Franck Pereira, ahead of Aurélien Panis and then Arthur Rougier. Scroll through, you can see that a little bit further back, the best of the silvers and the golds and the bronze, all mixing it up there within the top 10. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this pans out when we get to qualifying tomorrow morning. We've got pre-qualifying to come this afternoon. 3:30 local time, the session is due to start. Just briefly to say that another car took the checkered flag again, which was Ben Tuck. So it was WRT BMWs that stayed out under the full course yellow and are, of course, being investigated for this activity. So then, at the end of a 4-time interrupted session, we know there are 1 or 2 teams with a little bit of head scratching to do and a bit of work to do. But Lukas Stolz ended the session for the Get Speed team, number 17. And he brought the car to the end of the session. Didn't improve on Jules Gounon's time, but was able to at least get some mileage in and more useful data for the team. We'll try and hear from Lukas Stolz in a moment. He's just had a quick word with the team and is now ready then to talk to Alex down in the pit lane. So number 17 Mercedes tops free practice.
Here with the peddler of car 17, Lukas Stolz. What a wonderful session that was. How tricky is it to put together a very decent time and lap with all that traffic out there?
Really difficult, because it was interrupted by red and yellow quite a lot, and there was lots of gravel on track, so it was really difficult.
With 5 Mercedes in the top runners, did you anticipate the Mercedes to be quite so good around here?
Well, last year we were really not good, and so it's nice to improve this year, but I don't know. Usually we are first in free practice, and then when it comes to reality, we are usually in the midfield.
Yeah, okay, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Like, to what extent do you feel like this was race representative?
I don't know. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Good. We'll watch too. Thank you.
Lukas Stolz then, not giving too much away. So you've got Ben Tuck, you've got Charles Weerts, and also, who was in 30 at the end of the session, being looked at for taking the checkered flag twice, Etienne Shelley. That full course yellow coming out at the very end, and the drivers not pitting but staying out oddly on that full course yellow. Anyway, that will be looked at by the stewards. That's the car we look at as the fastest at the end of free practice. Mercedes AMG of Lukas Stolz, Fabian Schiller and Jules Gounon. Really competitive driver lineup that as well. And the Get Speed team looking very strong indeed at the end of our opening activity of the day. So the drivers have a little bit of time to look at data. Teams will see what can be done to make the cars even faster for pre-qualifying that starts at 3:30. Let's look at the highlights of the free practice session here at Monza. It's round 2 this weekend of GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup, and lots of people in strife early on. Maxime Robin launching himself across the grass at the Variante Ascari. He wasn't the only one in trouble there as well. 1 or 2 others finding themselves off the racetrack. And that chicane, with the gravel being dragged onto the circuit, continued all the way through the session. We had David Pittard off the road, we had Nicolas Bart off the road, we had all sorts of drama, and in fact for Comtieu a red flag came out after Antoine Potti went off with some force and damaged number 270. Maximilian Powell's car, Matteo Moretti at the wheel, had been in the gravel with the puncture. We then had another big lose here from Dante Raponge, who spun back across the road. The car undamaged, but he stalled it, and by the time it finally burst into life, a red flag had been called. So 4 red flags we had throughout the course of that session, the last of them being Will Moore putting his BMW in the gravel. That didn't restart because of a battery issue, just to add to the woe. In the end, though, it was looking pretty good for Mercedes-AMG as a brand, because it was a lockout at the top 5 for the 3-pointed star, with Maxi Goetz having had an earlier sensor issue, finally being able to get in some decent laps and end up just 5 thousandths shy of the top time. And the final drama came at the very end when Louis Machiels had a spin in the AF Corsa Ferrari at the Rogier chicane. Mercedes-AMG then, the brand of the morning, that's for sure.